3, 2, 1, clap.
Let's do that again.
Try it one more time. Okay, so we'll 3, 2, 1, and then clap on clap. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, clap. Cool.
Wonderful, fantastic.
You can figure that out in post.
I do every time. It's all good.
Cool. So immediately, the very first thing we should do is a content warning for this movie. It's a lot. It's a lot of things. If it has a lot of the sex and violence. There's some incest. There's some child death.
There sure is.
There is also some assault.
Mhm.
There is, I don't think any dogs get hurt.
No, I don't think there are any dogs, were there?
No, there are horses.
The horse is fine, though.
But the horse is fine. If you don't like horses, though, skip it. Let's see. If you're squeamish about sexual words like "come," probably skip this one.
I'm squeamish about you saying "come" that way.
That's the only way I know how. If you're squeamish about giant death marble walls that slowly chop off heads as they move towards you,
No, I don't know what to tell you.
probably skip this one. Aside from that, I also want to put a disclaimer that this happened in the year 19. So the Caligula was born in the year 19. So the historical accuracy of this episode is questionable.
Sure.
Uh,
We're not historians, Jack.
We're film historians.
Yes, there was no film in the year 19. I can't prove otherwise.
That aspect will be great. Whether or not Caligula made his horse a priest, we cannot confirm nor deny that.
I will accept it as truth, though.
Great. And then the last disclaimer before we hop in is my voice is slowly going. So if at any point you just stop hearing me and Joe starts talking, I'm dead.
So if the episode devolves into me frantically calling an ambulance, you know why.
Hey, welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, here to suffer alongside me as always is also host Joe Nealis.
I've existed from the morning of the world, and I shall exist until the last star falls from the night.
That was a quote.
I did it on purpose.
A doubly extra special episode for you today. Not only are we joined by Antonio of the Cultworthy podcast, but we're diving back into a gold star territory with the infamously perverse film 1979's Caligula. DeRazzled. We fix porno now.
just what you've always wanted.
Now my mom's going to be proud of me. Before we get into exactly what that means, let's introduce today's guest.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, it's me. It's Antonio back on the show. And seriously, I thought you guys liked me. I really did. I thought this was a welcome invitation, being just drawn into y'all's bosoms, and this is the one that you brought me onto.
So that's the problem with being friends with us, is that sometimes we get hurt this way.
we live in the shit, and if you want to hang out with us, you're gonna get shit on you.
Literally.
Literally, figuratively, and
for real though, whenever Joe and I came up with this concept of one for me, one for you. Back when we
came up with, borrowed from another podcast entirely.
Maybe, yeah. When we were a little bit more strict with the format of the podcast, I'm like, I really want to be able to do other movies that are bad that are not strictly related to the Razzies. And I want an excuse to watch Caligula.
You wanted an excuse to watch Caligula. That's what it was.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, Joe, you pick one, I'll pick one. I'm doing Caligula. Do you think Antonio would want to
do this? Yeah. So you should be flattered. He thought of you right away.
I thought of Caligula, and then you were the immediate next thought.
Yeah, thank you for that. And based off my response in that text thread, my response was, are you fucking kidding me? Like, there was another podcast that asked me to do this movie with them because literally no one else wanted to do it. Either
Oh
because
my god.
they had seen it and they're just like, nope, I don't want to even go that direction. Or they knew enough about it to be like, no, I'm fine with not seeing that film. And I mean, guys, I watch porn. Everyone watches a little porn now
Right.
and then. If I took all the porn I've seen in my life and added all of the erections I've seen in my life in porn, we wouldn't even scratch the surface of the amount of erect penises in this film. And I had to watch it like on a Tuesday, in the afternoon.
See, I saved it for the Lord's Day.
Joe, you did lose count of the penises almost immediately.
Did you have a tracker?
I was trying to count, and literally I texted you. I was like, I lost count
not
like 3
worth it.
minutes in. I can't.
There's so many.
so many cocks. It's
Cocks.
ridiculous.
Well, and you have to do you have to break them down by category. You have to go by flaccid, erect, half erect, half flaccid, cut,
Moist.
uncut,
There's
bloody, not bloody, dry, not dry. Like, seriously, there are so many different categories of penis in this movie.
A wide, diverse array of peni. It's one just fantastic and terrible.
So now that we have the audience intrigued by this movie,
They've stopped listening. They're watching the movie right now. They're like, really?
They've pulled it up on Pornhub already.
Is that where you watched
why
it?
didn't I look there?
What?
I'm like, why didn't I check there?
It's probably there. I mean,
It's probably there.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine they did eventually finally get around to taking down the recording of Hamilton that was on there, but this I imagine is still there.
When I was doing research, I found a list of like 20, 25 different cuts of this film.
It's true.
That many cuts?
Well,
Jesus.
it's that, and it's also like every minor cut that they did.
Oh,
they
okay.
included. I did not see the Pornhub cut though. The all dicks cut. Wonderful. Hey, we're gonna play a little game called Pavlovian Horses. God, I can't wait. Instead of providing a highly descriptive summary full of quips, we're going to play a game called Pavlovian Horses, wherein I'll have 5 minutes to summarize the movie and not a second more. When the timer hits 5 minutes, Joe will blast me with horse noises. Horses. If Caligula is to be believed, they make excellent senators and wonderful lovers. I agree with half that statement.
I'd vote a horse to the Senate. Yeah.
Could do worse. Before we do that, though, Joe's going to remind you of something.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't already, please rate and review the show everywhere you possibly can so that more people can discover us and get us into their ear holes. Please do that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. We would really appreciate it. Please and thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Antonio, I've done this. I rehearsed this twice and just made it both times. So we'll see.
I believe in you.
3, 2, 1, go.
There are many versions of Caligula, some lost to the sands of time. For this episode, I will be discussing the unrated, uncut version. What you need to know for this cut is that Caligula was mostly made by one filthy pervert who shot some softcore porn. Then a second filthy pervert was pissed at the lack of cum and penetration, and so he added an hour of hardcore to liven things up a bit. We open on Caligula and Drusilla frolicking through the woods, clearly in love. Their dancing becomes sexual and the camera work becomes gynecological. This carries over the bedroom where brother and sister catch up on the gossip of the day. Their incest is interrupted by Praetorian Guard, Macro, who informs Caligula that his uncle, Emperor Tiberius, has summoned him to Capri, his fortified sex island, where the real-life Emperor Tiberius spent his days gratifying himself with minors and yeeting traitors off a cliff. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. For unknown reasons, Caligula is hesitant to go. At the island of Capri, Caligula and Tiberius have a political conversation, the details of which I can't quite remember because their little West Wing chat happens in like a James Bond villain style
grotto.
The hardcore porn and tyrannical torture begins here. Take note, I'm not going to stop to comment on the porn every time the porn happens. So just
We'd be
assume that
here
like
all day.
every 5 minutes or so, the porn is happening. Anyway, Tiberius tries to poison Caligula, who tries to poison Germillus, the other heir to the throne, which puts Caligula on a path to assassinate Tiberius. But Caligula doesn't have the nerve, so Macro assassinates Tiberius for Caligula, and Nerva, figuring he's probably going to get assassinated himself eventually, does the sensible thing and assassinates himself. Caligula is crowned the new emperor. Caligula is betrothed to marry Macro's wife. It's this whole thing for the sitting emperor to kind of like cuck one of his buds and steal a wife. Don't worry about it. Caligula wants to marry his sister lover, so he snitches on Macro and then banishes Macro's wife / his almost wife elsewhere. With that out of the way, Caligula gets ready to marry Drusilla. However, Drusilla knows that people will yuck their yum and pushes him to marry a priestess of Isis. Caligula picks the slutty one, Dame Helen. He continues to make his sister jealous by assaulting a couple on the day of their wedding, humiliating the husband with a handful of vanilla icing, and topping off his anal cupcake with a begonia. Here, the order of events gets hazy as the two versions that I watched, plus the actual historical events, historians disagree on what actually happened. So prepare yourself for like a murder pervert smoothie. Caligula becomes ill, but recovers. Then Drusilla becomes ill and dies. His sanity already teetering on the edge, he wanders through town only to see a skit mocking his love for his dead sister. Like any logical person, Caligula fucking hates skits and gets arrested when he tries to break that shit up. In prison, he meets a fellow pervert and a magician. Onto the orgy. Caligula orders that all of the senator's wives and daughters are to become sex workers on his indoor fuckboat. This is porn. You're watching porno. Let's wash this porn down with some brutal scenes of war. Just kidding. They forgot to tell the Britons that they were warring that day, and no one showed up.
No one got the memo.
Caligula claims victory, returning to Rome with Papyrus Cane to prove it. As fun as all this is, Caligula finally takes things too far when he tries to balance the national debt by having all the senators' wealth revert back to Rome upon their death. Finally, a plan I can get behind. But you can probably guess how well that went. Caligula, Helen Mirren, his magic buddy, and their child are rehearsing a play. They take 5. Caligula utters the magic word scrotum, and they are immediately assassinated.
What a last word.
It was almost his last word. It was so close. Most upsetting is that Incatartus, Caligula's beloved high priest, senator horse, arrives just after the assassination, or either too late to stop the assassination or too late to join in. The end.
30 seconds remaining. You have beaten the horses, Jack.
Nice. Very good. Okay.
Also, that was like fucking Crisco that he was using to lube up that ass, right? Like, that was not vanilla.
It was a bucket of lard. It was a bucket of
lard.
It was lard. It was snow-cap lard.
Crisco in the year 19.
It looked like mashed potatoes.
So, the funny thing, Jack, is you could have said anything, any assortment of words, and thrown the word penis, vagina, scrotum, and horse in there, and it still would have made sense. Like, it would have. You would not have been wrong.
No, it's a very long movie, and a lot happens. And as long as you mention genitals, yeah, it's probably in there.
I am glad that you mentioned that the fuck boat was indoors.
Right, well, I don't want to confuse people.
What a choice.
Well, I think it was indoor for outdoor. Like, I think that was budgetary. I didn't think they had a body of water to shoot it on. Oh, guys, I've already delved in this movie in multiple ways. And since one of you is a theater major, you should recognize game when game is present. That was fucking stagecraft beyond stagecraft. Like, that was Big River before Big River, right?
They didn't have the budget to make it look really good because of all the fluffers on set.
Well, I mean, so this is my thing.
For the fluffers.
guys. Every set in this film in like the last 2 acts could be straight from the Muppet Show. Think of all
I
the little
genuinely had that same
windows.
thought.
Think of all the little entrances and doors. Get rid of the soldiers and have like a furry monster pop up, and you've got the Muppet Show set.
Just
We could
imagine,
do this.
just imagine them going off to war, and then Sweetums running behind them like, guys, wait for me.
That's a cut. I think that's in the cut. That's one of the cuts that exists.
The Muppet cut, right? Baby Muppets.
The Jim Henson cut.
Yum. And anything of importance I missed plot wise?
Yes, everything.
So much. Wonderful.
Yeah.
You didn't want to touch a little bit more on the existence of British papyrus?
No.
Nope, fine.
No, I did. There was a couple of scenes. We'll talk about the individual scenes, but I do think it's important to note that there was a scene where Malcolm McDowell was in bed with a horse.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling well, so he had to snug his buddy.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if either of you watched any of the behind the scenes stuff, but that horse was tranquilized to chill out because it's
Right.
in bed with Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, it would have to be.
That
right?
didn't matter though, because it's still a fucking horse. And I've never seen a grown man move so fast. When that horse bucks to like get up,
Oh
gone.
yeah. Oh, I'd be.
There's a cloud of smoke.
I'd have put a Looney Tunes-esque hole in the wall to get away from that.
So Antonio, did you listen to any of the audio commentaries?
No.
So
I knew that you would do all the work, and I allowed you to do all the work. I watched the movie
Fantastic.
again. I showed up at 7. My time.
Smart man.
That's
Your
my
time.
that's my role. That's my job. I'll let you do all the
did good.
research.
Wise choice.
So there's commentary with Malcolm McDowell, and he talks about that scene with the horse. He doesn't mention that he ran away.
Right.
What he does mention is that horse kicked one of the trainers, and he never saw that man again.
Oh, no. Did that man die?
He might have died. He says he asked someone, the other trainer's like, so like, what happened to the other guy? And he's like, oh, he's in the hospital.
I mean, from a horse kick, yeah. I imagine that would happen.
So I'm going to leave you with the words before we got the break. I'm going to leave you with the words of this movie's producer, Bob Guccione.
What a name.
He said this multiple times, quote, "This is not pornography. This is paganography." I'll see you after break.
Paganography?
Paganography.
God damn it.
A tomato nuance. I mean, we have to recognize first and foremost that Bob Guccione was the CEO, head publisher of Penthouse magazine.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
So
100%.
since we're on break, I'll give you a real quick rundown of the format. We're doing 2 episodes at once. So the second act, when we get back from break, we're just doing stats. We're gonna do awards at 1, all that shit, and then act 3 we'll talk about like what we liked, what we didn't like. That'll be at the end of the first episode. Then the second episode we'll talk more about who's at fault. So Bob Guccione, Caligula, a man who existed, and then we'll fix it. Which, if yins are okay, I'm gonna take a sip of water. Dive back in.
Take a sip of water. Yeah, nurse that voice.
Should have made a cup of tea with some lemon and
That's not a bad
honey.
idea.
Should have.
Nice and soothing.
I drank so much of that in college that it makes me want to throw up instantly. Yeah.
Put your readers back on.
They're already becoming not strong enough.
Yeah.
I'm aging at a rapid rate. Fuck. Come on, cyborg guys.
Meanwhile, I'm over
Alright.
here paying extra money not to have Coke bottles.
Hey, welcome back. Let's talk about some stats. Antonio,
Yeah.
what do you think Caligula has on the tomato meter?
I'm going to say, because I didn't look, I knew you were going to do stats. I don't like to look at that stuff. I'm going to say it's got a 57.
Ooh, nope.
Am I
lower.
much lower? Okay.
Yeah.
Much lower.
Joe?
I'm gonna go to 23.
22.
Ooh,
Yeah, close. How about the audience score, Antonio?
See, there's a lot of perverts out there, so I'm gonna say a 65 on that one.
Yeah, but it's a really long movie, so it's lower.
We live in
damn it,
the
man!
year of MCU where 3-hour movies are just the expected.
That's true. That's true. I can't imagine like a 3-hour Secret War dick cut.
Oh my god. Actually,
Actually, that and the
hmm.
cat's butthole cut. Anyway, Joe, what do you think?
Well, I was going to guess 69, but obviously it was lower. I can't do that.
You can still guess sexy.
No, it's
Okay.
the magic's gone. Oh god. 45,
38.
30. Oh god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Critic and audience not that far apart.
No, this movie brought people together in their mutual hatred.
I'm sure it brought someone together.
They're all on Amazon, actually. Because Amazon, it's got a 4.3 out of 5.
Really?
No, are you fucking kidding me?
Wait, what? Out of 5? I was like, oh, 4.3 out of 10. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, out of 5.
Wait a
Out of
minute.
5.
5 stars. Jesus
67% of Amazon's
No.
reviews are 5 stars. And Joe, before you get into your stats, I just have to read one review that I pulled up earlier that I just thought was fantastic.
Oh, please do.
So this 5-star review from a guy named David, and this was just back in January. So excited to have this on Blu-ray. It is truly and tremendously satisfying. I'd actually like everything about this movie, and now that it's on Blu-ray, I can watch it on my 65-inch UHD flat screen television to experience it in its ultimate form. A must-have indeed.
You really
Is this, no, this is a weird targeted ad. This is native advertising for that TV.
It didn't give a brand name, bro.
Ah, shit.
You really want that cum bowl to be nice and crisp and clear.
Just gotta see that glisten.
You can really, you can see every little glistening pore of Malcolm McDowell's fist.
Oh God, is here a good place to mention the Zoom?
No. Save that for later because I have a whole piece on that. So yeah, save that for later.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So last score we'll cover is the IMDb score out of 10. Antonio.
I'm gonna say 5.5.
Ooh, that's real close.
I would say, knowing IMDb, it's going to be
yeah.
like unreasonably high.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm going to say 5.9.
5.3.
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. All right, now we're gonna make it uncomfortable. What would you give it out of 10?
Me first?
Yeah.
You know what, guys? I'd give it a 4. I'd give it a solid 4.
I was gonna say like a 3.5, perhaps, out of 10. Maybe lower. Maybe 3.2. I don't know.
Justification. The main characters in this film, the leads, are doing really, really, really good work.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I would sit and watch this. But also, it is a curio of sorts. So, I mean, fuck, I might watch this again. I own it. I probably will watch this again when some fucking loony asks me to do it for their podcast, and I say yes, like I did this time. So
I mean, you've got to complete that Caligula hat trick at this point.
I don't want to know how that ends.
Did you just hold on? No, Jack, did you just sneak that in there? So you say
He did.
4.9 out of 10.
I kind of liked it.
God damn it!
We'll get into like what worked and what didn't work, but we'll do some foreshadowing.
Sure.
Oh gosh. So this movie came out in 1979, as we mentioned, which is the year prior to the Razzies existing.
Yes. It got in just under the wire for that nomination, which I fully imagine it would have been among the crop of the first Razzie nominees had they had the opportunity.
However, the stinkers existed.
They did.
At the third Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, Caligula was nominated for 2 categories: Worst Picture and Worst Director. It lost both. Worst Picture, it lost to Popeye.
Oh man.
Justified.
I've seen it as an adult. It's bad, isn't it?
I've also not seen it as an adult.
I
don't think I actually don't think I saw the whole thing as a child. I know I've seen portions of it though.
Dude, no one's seen it all the way through as a child. That's why they like it. It's like Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm 42 years old and I've never seen it all the way through because I fall asleep right in the fucking middle. So I really don't know how it goes, but what I've seen, I like. So that's why
I was a
it
very
gets like
sad
the
brooding child
nostalgia
in high
glasses.
school. I watched that shit on repeat. Worst director. It lost to a movie I've never heard of, The Apple.
The
That was
Apple?
my last episode, guys.
Oh
really?
shit! Wait, I missed that one.
It comes
How
out.
did I
It
miss
comes
that one?
out. It comes out literally tonight.
Oh shit! That's why. Okay.
So this will come out not tonight.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Go back in time, or in the present, you can just
Look.
to it.
Just look it up.
Right
You'll
now,
see
right
it.
now.
Yeah.
You can
It'll
actually
be there.
stop listening to this episode.
Just go
Go
listen to
listen to
Antonio's
this
episode about the Apple.
Yeah.
It's the
This
Apple
is-
versus Xanadu. It's a face-off episode.
Oh, okay. I do remember seeing you plug that. Okay.
That's another film I'm embarrassed that I like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I honestly liked Xanadu a little bit more than I expected to,
fun.
but it was fun. But anyway,
so this is a real short portion because it didn't
win any.
didn't really go to any award stuff. So
yeah, which that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, too bad AVN didn't exist back then, right?
All right,
God, I'm sure it would have cleaned up.
Gross.
I'm gonna just jump right back in here.
Go for it.
And welcome back. Hey, what worked for Caligula? Let's talk about the casting.
I mean, Antonio, you already touched on it a little bit that like the leads are doing a pretty good job with like the material that they're given. Like McDowell, I think, puts on a pretty entertaining performance in a number of fashions. There are some times where he goes maybe a little over the top for my taste, but given what he's working with, I can't say I blame him.
Well, this is where I think that Jack hopefully will agree with me on this. You know, this is essentially a bad high school production when it comes to performance wise. You've got a bevy of people that don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just there. They're wearing the costumes. Some of them have to get their dicks out, but you have to rely on the consummate professionals that are the head of the show, especially McDowell, to carry literally the entire movie on their shoulders. Because I'm sure, as he probably heard in the commentary, and I've read in the books about it and heard McDowell talk about it on podcasts, none of these people were actors other than the main cast. They were literally like people off the street. They were literally Italian crew members, families, and whatever, local porn stars, prostitutes. Like literally, there were no professionals on this set. So when you are the main guy, when you are Caligula, and you realize that you've got really probably no first or second AD to direct background. Background is just there waxing it. You have to perform. You have to bring your most theatrical performance and hoping the camera catches you. And when we get to the cinematography of it later, that makes a lot more sense. But also, you know, all these big names, let's say Gielgud and O'Toole, Helen Mirren's a little bit longer, but these are like day player performances, right? Like they are there for 2 days, maybe.
Yeah.
And all that's at the beginning. And then Malcolm McDowell has to carry the next 2 hours and 15 minutes of screen time essentially on his own. So yeah, the cast does what it has to do. And being the consummate professionals that they have, I have zero complaints with the main cast. That being said, I don't know any of the other casts, so I can't really speak to what they're doing other than it's not good.
Well, Malcolm McDowell tends to be a larger actor anyway. I mean, he goes very large here.
The guy from A Clockwork Orange? No.
But given the material, I think he did well with how large he went. And I think that even the background people aren't great, but given that many did not speak English, not bad.
I forgot about that. You did mention that before we went live. Yeah, that is a little bit surprising that even with that language barrier, they're able to really kind of make things work
we're not talking about the actors that don't work right now, but I think you have Malcolm McDowell and you have, I forget his name, the guy that has shaved head and has like the headpiece.
Oh,
Uh, but those two stole every scene for me. Like even with Helen Mirren there, she kind of just disappeared in the background a lot when those two were on screen.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the perform. Even the more subtle performances, I'm like, well, that's fine. I'm not really here to watch you anyway. I'm here to watch Caligula.
I'm gonna say something controversial. I think the horse did good. I think the horse did
That's
a
not
good job.
it's not controversial. It's honest feedback. It's good. I mean, maybe he had
It
very
was.
good notes.
I heard he was stoned in the one scene.
You did bring that up. Longinus was the
Thank
character
you.
you were
Yeah,
thinking of.
Longinus.
John Steiner is the actor's name.
Yes. Great. What worked for you for the story?
For me, I think that, I mean, we'll probably get into more of the details later when we talk about the production, but Gore Vidal, I'm sure, wrote a very interesting revisionist history version, as he always does, fixing in, these Freudian complexes and Oedipus complexes that makes sense in the way that a story like this was written. And if we would have gotten that story, which it's now historically known that we didn't, I think there really could have been something in there. Like, let's not lie, there is a good movie in here, but it's really lost in the shuffle. So the fact that it is so long, you don't care about the parts that worked. And with all the different, hands in the pot deciding, okay, well, this is a porn. No, this is a what did you say? A paganography?
Yeah.
But I feel that the people in the movie, like McDowell and Gielgud and O'Toole, I feel that they got onto this project thinking that they were doing Shakespeare, that they thought they were doing some kind of real historical fiction epic. And then they showed up and saw what they were in, and they're like, well, I'm already here. I'm already getting paid. Let's just get this over with. And it
Well, because
shows. It shows.
it wasn't originally Caligula by Bob Guccione. It was Gore Vidal's Caligula.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And his name carried a weight with it that got people to sign up, thinking it was going to be a serious, maybe even like a satirical look at American politics at the time.
Yeah, much like Vidal is known to do.
Right. And then you show up and Bob Guccione's bringing in porn stars.
I mean, probably one of the best catfish games ever, if you think about it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you got Helen Mirren and Sir John Gielgud and Peter O'Toole to show up to be in your porno. Like, good game, right?
Oh my god, it is a little bit buck wild to me. So before we got started here, Antonio sent us over an episode of the Gilbert Gottfried podcast where he's interviewing Malcolm McDowell, and that little bit where he's talking about how Gielgud, like, if at first said that he absolutely loved the movie and like that he had seen it three
times
and paid twice. Just that he was, and somebody had to pull him aside and be like, no, we need you to stop, quit telling people you like it. So what's wrong with you?
Antonio, what cut did you watch?
I have what's called the Imperial Cut. I've got that DVD.
Okay. That's
So
what
apparently
we watched as well.
But can I give you like a quick little 2-minute history of how I actually even became aware of this film?
Please.
Yeah.
So I'm 12 years old.
Oh no.
And we are staying at a friend's in-laws house. It's this big ski lodge up in Sundance ski resort here in Utah. So big house, gaudy art, gaudy furniture, blah, blah, blah. And we get like this whole downstairs to ourselves. And I open up this drawer under the TV and it is completely filled with porno. And I'm talking like a Betamax porn. Like, this is old school. Like,
Wow.
yeah. So we're like, jackpot. we grab the first tape in the drawer, and it's Caligula
Oh,
on
no.
Betamax.
You had this
The
treasure chest in front of you.
one.
And I'm telling you guys, I'm like, oh, cool. This is like Roman porn or something. These people are all in togas. This will be hot. We put it in, and obviously it doesn't start off with the porn right away. But then once it
No.
does, it is the least sexy porn
Yeah, that needs to be
anyone's
said.
ever seen. Like, this is the least sexiest, sexy whatever porn. And we're 12. Like, at that point, we'll jerk off to anything.
Right.
And for real, we're like, this is hurting my penis. Let's turn this off. I
Yeah,
don't even want, you know. And we found a stewardess movie instead, and that worked. But
Nice.
I gotta say, man, like, it
I
fascinated
just-
me enough. It fascinated me enough that when I was like maybe 15 or 16, and I could still rent videos at the one store that had the beaded curtain, and it was in there. I'm like, well, I
Nice.
already started it. I may as well finish it.
I remember that. I should watch the rest of it.
Yeah, like the first 20 minutes, you know, maybe it gets better. Maybe I didn't give it. It's like Jaws, you know, it starts off slow and it gets better halfway through, you know.
It's like,
Oh,
no, this
nope.
just still makes my dick hurt. I don't
Yeah,
like it.
it does. You know,
Yeah, that really needs to
so
be said. This is not a movie that will make you aroused, or it's unlikely to. I don't want to say that it's not someone's jam.
I think it's
okay,
a good
so-
way to know who your friends are. Like, if you're watching this
Yeah.
in a room of friends, and if one of you gets up within 20 minutes to go to the bathroom, that's the guy you have to like not invite anymore to your parties.
Oh, Jerry can't come back.
the
No, we can't.
Humble,
He
huh?
can't.
Really?
Well, he got a little too wide-eyed at the cum ball. Oh no, no.
God. Okay, so we've all watched the same.
We've
cut
all
then,
watched the same
okay.
cut, yeah.
The unrated, uncut version. Fantastic. Well, let's talk briefly about the themes. What worked about the themes of Caligula?
Please tell me, Jack, what themes do you think worked with this movie?
I think the theme of betrayal worked. Saw betrayal in there.
Yeah, it's
Also,
you know,
sex and death. And dick.
Also, seconds. Yeah, well,
well, it's
Cunnilingus
ancient.
It's-
was
It's
also-
ancient. It's ancient Rome, man. Like, betrayal is just
Yeah.
your bread and butter in ancient Rome.
yeah.
You know, there. Okay, let's say classism. Let's say political intrigue. You know, again, when you
I'd
talk
say
about
yeah.
ancient Rome, you were talking about the origin of, you know, like you said, betrayal. You were talking about the origins of political intrigue that still exist in different ways today. We're not, you know, making people drink a gallon of wine and then piercing them after they get their
Ooh,
dick
that-
cut. I
yeah,
forget
Yeah,
the
that
whole.
that was rough.
I mean, maybe we'd be living in a better, you know, run country if we did do that once in a while. I don't know. There'd be a lot less bullshit and gerrymandering, but that I think that there are themes that are relevant, you know, especially when you talk about the political thing. And also just the whole idea of like these patriarchies and these families, these bloodlines of royalty, and how it's so fragile and how everyone wants power and everyone's willing to kill even their own brother and father and mother and son for it. Like, that is a lesson to be learned, I guess, of how things used to operate before real democracy was a thing. But the penises kind of take away the power of it, you know.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to know what version you'd watch, because the Imperial Cut has two different versions. The second one being the quote unquote unreleased version, and it basically it's the same movie as the one you watched. They just took away the hardest hardcore porn parts, and you're not as distracted by the porno. You can actually watch the performances. You can see the story. It's way more jarring because they didn't do a good job of removing those parts. It's just somebody like went in and took away that half a second of penetration.
So I'm curious as like which parts they removed.
Um, the hard quote unquote hardest thing that you see in that version is the spies that become distracted.
Right, you'd mentioned that the two spies back there are still just blowing each other,
Right,
just
right.
going to
Until
town,
McDonald's like, get out of here.
being woefully unprofessional.
Right.
Just
Terrible spies. That was not a scene that was filmed by Bob Guccione. That was originally shot by Tinto Brass.
that was meant to be there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very important to know those spies got distracted and blew each other. But like the Cumble's not there. Well, the Cumble's there. It's just it cuts.
You don't get the
before-
close up.
You don't get the close up of
you don't
the
actually
money
see
shot.
a guy just kind of release.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't see any like P and V.
Sure.
But even just having that removed, even though I know it's there, I was able to not be like taken out of the story as much.
Is the like extreme close up on that one blowjob still in there?
Which one?
Which
I
one?
mean, you know which one.
No.
The one in like the last 10 minutes?
Like
The one that holds
the-
on way too long as they're getting the senators' wives to whore themselves?
That one. Yeah,
Oh,
that one.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. I had a feeling that one wasn't in there. Is the like weird
Why are you asking where all the blowjobs are? That's Jack.
No, I'm moving away from the blowjobs. Is the weirdly placed like goes on too long and also taking place at the same time as a royal threesome lesbian scene still in there? Because that felt really weird.
All the sexy parts are in there. They just don't show genitals, like touching, like connecting with either other genitals or mouth.
So that was meant to be taking place at the same time as this as the
Joe will watch it.
so-
We'll watch it. We'll sit down and watch it together.
No, I don't want
I'll
to
hold
watch
your
it
hand.
again.
Nope, too late.
Fuck.
You know what this needs? Do you guys ever watch pop-up video on VH1?
Yes.
Someone needs to do a pop-up video of Caligula so Joe doesn't get lost on all the blowjob scenes and when they were shot.
This one was added in post, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one.
This one was shot on 16 millimeter in Bob Guccione's garage,
Yeah.
which probably happened.
Which
Well, yeah, I would not be surprised.
what about the production worked for you?
You go ahead. I got stuff to say, but I'll let you think. I like how
movies. A lot of the movies that we cover have really, really boring stationary camera work, and these cameras were all over the fucking
They
place.
were. There was.
And I was excited for
There
it.
was a lot of interesting camera movement. I will give you that. There was not a point where I felt bored because of what the camera itself was
Right.
doing.
Just the blowjobs.
Yeah, just the oversaturation of blowjobs. But
well, I mean, there is an inconsistency of camera work, obviously, because Tinto Brass and his crew shot a bunch, and then Guccione and his crew shot a bunch,
Yep.
and they don't match. The lighting doesn't match. I think it was
That's
actually
true.
different film stock. Like I really believe that there's two different film stocks and speeds going on because it is jarring when it cuts to
that would explain.
saturated and diffused sex scenes intercut with really vibrant, like the 35 millimeter close-ups and half shots of Malcolm McDowell supposedly watching what's going on. And here's I'm so impressed by the editing of this movie. Like, whatever poor Italian dude got stuck in the editing room for like a year and a half editing, I don't know how many cuts of this movie together. I mean, think about, you have probably, let's say, an hour 45 or 2 hours of actual good narrative, and then you have to go in and splice all of these penetration and porn scenes in between, but still make it flow. The movie doesn't work, but God bless the guy that actually did that job, man. That was crazy.
I mean, that
Fair.
Bob Guccione's leaning over top of him, breathing in his ear the whole time.
That's got to be the most uncomfortable thing.
But I agree with you. Like, even the porn bits that are cut in the quote unquote uncut version do move somewhat smoothly, or smoothly as they can.
I mean,
Come
I
on,
want
you're
to.
awful.
I kind of want to say that, like, I wonder if more, footage of film was shot than Titanic. Titanic
Mm.
took track of how many feet of film they actually use, and so did There Will Be Blood. PTA always bragged about how many feet of film he shot. We don't know how many feet of film were shot for this, but I guarantee you it was a hell of a lot more.
What a dick measuring
It's
contest that is.
so
Holy
yeah.
shit.
I mean, it is locked away in the was locked away in the penthouse vault
Before the cum flood.
before the cum flood washed it away. Penthouse doesn't exist anymore, right? I'm pretty sure it doesn't
It
exist.
may be an online only entity
Yeah,
at this point.
probably.
I genuinely don't know.
Fantastic. What else about the production work for you?
I want to talk about really fast. You go back to your camera movement because that is something I find really fascinating. Tinto Brass does a lot of erotic comedies and erotic pictures. Up until like the mid to late 90s, he was still doing this stuff. This probably was his biggest budget to ever work with. And you can tell that he was really wanting to, like, you know, show his cojones and his nalgas on this one. He's like, I'm going to do everything I can to make this production look good. And when you think about the set design, how the sets are so grand, but they're also, like we were talking about, theatrical and stage crap. They're not meant to be shot three-dimensionally. You're not meant to like go in
Yep.
and, shoot the opposite direction. You can only shoot face forward like a stage. So how he compensates for that is, you could call it soap opera cinematography, where you're really just moving the camera along with the actors as it's like sweeping up and down these set pieces. But then when it adds in all those crazy zooms and pans, it makes me feel like I'm watching a Robert Altman movie. If you go back and you watch Nashville, if you go
I was
back and
just
watch
thinking
MASH,
Nashville.
like Homeboy just likes to zoom on whatever the fuck whenever he feels like, for no particular reason. Like in Nashville, there's so many scenes where, maybe Keith Carradine's talking and then he just zooms in on Lily Tomlin for no fucking reason and then just zooms back out.
Yeah.
This is what Tinto Brass is doing in this film, except this film has got stuff to look at. There's so much
Right.
stuff going on. It's not just following the actor. You're going to follow Malcolm McDowell with your camera zoom and pan, and then you're going to stop on a lady with her legs spread and like a little person fanning her vagina with a feather. Like,
Yep.
it literally is like a shooting gallery of, okay, where are we going to stop the camera? Bing, you get a vagina shot. Okay, we're going to follow Malcolm McDowell up the stairs and bing, there's a blowjob. Like,
Yep.
it's pretty cool.
Well, you're going to have that when he has like 8 different camera guys all shooting at the same time. You're going to have those designated, to stay on the principal actors, and then you're going to have those that are just like, I don't know, is it looking interesting? Just like zoom in and out on it. Which brings us to the zoom in and out story. So in the commentary with Malcolm McDowell, he's talking about how they're gathered around one of the monitors watching dailies, and it's like him and Helen Mirren and John. How do you say his last name?
Gielgud.
Gielgud.
Yeah.
And they're just looking into this gray abyss, not sure like what. Maybe he was like really out of focus. Like, what are we looking at? And the camera slowly zooms out so you can see what's actually going on. And John Gielgud leans over to Helen Mirren and he's like, Helen, I believe that's your asshole.
Yep.
Which is like, okay, but also kind of impressive that the camera guy was able to get in there.
It's a little disconcerting he was able to get in there. That's wild.
A lot of practice.
It's like, these are the guys that film the Super Bowl. They're like, get those guys that shoot the Super Bowl out. We're going to do a lot of live play action camera work here.
Well, you see, Mr. Madden, we've installed these new wire cameras. They'll get right up into the action. You'll be able to see directly overhead down to the snap. See, when they first tested this out on the set of Caligula, you see, and got it just right up some assholes. And you'll see... You want to wind that back, buddy? What was that last part?
Tinto Brass innovated that little pen and stylus method that John Madden does to circle his plays. Except he's like, okay, now we're gonna go to this erect penis, and then we're gonna shoot over on here, and we've got a 69 going. All right, let's go.
And
and
if
break.
you watch the trajectory of the come this way.
That was a pretty sad cum shot. I was embarrassed for him, as was Malcolm McDowell.
Oh. Yeah, you know what? I believe that.
Yeah. And Antonio, have you watched any of Tinto Brass's other films? Because I have not.
Nor have
Yeah,
I.
I actually have. Now, when I said that he does like erotic comedies, this is a guy that does very kind of like whimsical, um, very playful, like the music is almost like circus or carnival music. The men are usually kind of portly with like rosy cheeks. It looks like a Mexican soap opera, but
Okay.
with softcore pornography. He doesn't really do a lot of hardcore. Like he'll show a penis erect, he'll show maybe a lady going for it, but for him, it's the erotica that draws you into whatever his art supposedly is. And I've never really had the opportunity to like sit through an entire film
Mhm.
because I get bored and it's hard to. I get bored in porn. I think a lot of people do. That's why people like watch 30 seconds and then move on to something else. But yeah, this is very unlike most of the stuff I've seen of his. Most of his stuff is
Okay.
whimsical and comical, and I feel in the vibe and the energy, especially like when you see McDowell do his really theatrical and funny moments, that's Tinto Brass's style. I think
Okay.
when the film tries to get serious is when we kind of lose it because that's just not his style. That's my opinion.
So yeah, so where McDowell doing his little dance as in the rain, screaming about his attempted assassination is more brass, whereas the most of the fuck boat scene is probably not.
Guccione.
It's
Yeah.
probably
I would
Guccione.
agree with that. And it's his little boots dance. Come on, man. He's little boots.
His
Yeah.
little boots.
All right. Let's get into what didn't work with the casting.
I mean, I would say that it's very obvious that most of the people that had speaking lines that weren't the main cast were probably amateurs, day players, maybe local theater people. Like it is very obvious that they are not caliber actors. And they're also speaking English when they're not English speakers because they're going to be dubbed later. And that's obvious. It takes away from the credibility of the film. But again, like there's a point in this movie where you just have to let all that go or else you're going to have a torturous time watching this. You know, you can't go into this film picking everything apart right from the beginning. You just have to watch it and then go back and pick it apart later because it can be excruciating picking out all of the flaws that are so evident.
This is one of those movies that I was there more for the experience of it, just kind of like letting the entire thing wash over me like a river of cum and ignoring the things that don't work.
And yet this is somehow stickier.
Lo- like the actress who played Drusilla, the first time I watched it, I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to her. Um, she is a weaker actress. I can't tell if she was dubbed or not.
She was.
I would say I think there were at least points where she was dubbed. I wasn't sure if it was the entire time.
But she was also not the first person cast in that role.
Mm-mm.
Right, you had mentioned that.
Maria Schneider was originally cast in the part of Drusilla and dropped out for uncomfortable reasons.
Right,
Well,
'cause I
yeah,
think
she had already done Last Tango in Paris with
Mhm.
Brando,
yep.
where there's very controversial sex scenes in that, and she was literally trying to get away from that, and that's why when she found out what this film really was, like she even shot a few days and
Mhm.
then saw what they were trying to do, and she's like, "Nope, not doing it."
Yeah, no, I respect that
Yeah,
Me
that's
too.
totally reasonable.
because given what what the movie turned out to be, she would have been miserable.
Yeah.
Kind of like Helen Mirren was in every single scene she was in.
Genuinely looked like she wanted to be anywhere else throughout the vast majority of this film.
Well, she was dragged into it by McDowell.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. They were buds. I forget what they had worked on prior to this. Maybe
They made
Oh
a movie
Lucky
called
Man.
If together and Oh Lucky Man. Yeah, they've done a few
It was
films together.
If. Okay.
Mhm.
And he convinced her to join up because he's like, I'm gonna be lonely and I need a bud on set. And sorry, Fred. Much like we've dragged you into talking about Caligula, he dragged her into being in Caligula.
I'm having a good time though.
Yeah, she does not look like she's having.
She's not having a good time.
We're not putting a camera lens up your ass crack. So.
Yeah.
I'm not that great at pulling focus. Any of the other performers specifically not work?
Claudius, I felt like
Really, I could have liked him.
I don't know.
He's
like,
silly. He's silly.
He is silly. Like there were moments where I was like, this guy's kind of fun, and then other time, but then he just doesn't do like anything.
I like that because then you have the payoff of Caligula's dead.
Give it to him.
Long live Claudius.
Idiot. Yeah.
Give it to this fucking guy. What?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's like what's that guy's name who played Otho in Beetlejuice? He's kind of like the Otho of this movie, you know.
All right, you know what? No, I retract what I retract my issue. Then no, I love Otho, so I can't complain about this.
I really dig Macro at the very beginning. I like his style, I like his energy. He has like a real kind of like Timothy Dalton presence
He's
there.
Dalton-esque. I can
Yeah,
see that.
Dalton-esque, and no wonder he has to go to the head lawnmower wall thing.
Yeah.
Or as I like to call it, that whole wall and that whole thing reminds me of like a boss you would have to fight in a Final Fantasy game, you know?
Yes.
Where it's like, it's going to come towards you with spinning blades. You have to like 1000 HP, hit X repeatedly, and then it'll go back a little bit, you know, if you don't hit X repeatedly. But
no, when the blades start to light up, you have to hit those to dissipate the energy, and then otherwise it's really going to fuck you up with a big attack.
Right. We're not nerds, by the way.
Yes. Caligula by
You never
Squaresoft.
played Squaresoft. God damn you, that was my joke.
Oh shit.
And then it makes its way into Kingdom Hearts.
You know, I would pay good money to play the Caligula planet in Kingdom Hearts.
No, I draw the line.
Donald and Goofy
and the
getting in on this action. Come on.
I do not want to see the fuck boat fight.
Oh boy.
Oh god, moving on.
Holy shit.
Hold on. I don't know if this specifically falls into themes, but I do want to set aside a place to talk about the real sex in this movie.
Yeah, because there was actually unsimulated, like actual sex taking place in some scenes.
And I'm gonna go on a limb and say that the porno in this did not work.
No.
Yeah. Not that I think, but I'm not against like. Let's say I sat down with Corvidal and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do this movie. It's Caligula. We're gonna have actual sex in it." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not out at that point." It's when he brings in the gooch that I am.
Yes. You had to call him the gooch.
It's right there.
I was at least expecting that you would wait until part 2 to bring in the gooch, but
it was scripted for part 2. I couldn't wait.
Fair. You just got excited.
Yeah. But I wanted your opinions on real sex and specifically this movie. We could get into much longer conversations with others.
I mean, insofar as we're talking about like the porn and whatnot, like, so like I watched this with Becca, and both of us were just like bewildered by just how unsexy it was, and we felt watching it. And I did keep having to like look behind me and double check and make sure the blinds were pulled because our TV faces out onto a street where children live.
Listen, Antonio saw when he was 12, so
you know, it's fair.
And I'm fine, guys.
Oh god, it's like it's astounding, like because of how big and over the top they go with it, and how much of it there is. It's like it's both like somehow boring and overwhelming all at the same time.
Specifically the sex.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And I don't, and there are even times where like I feel like the way they approach the sex fucks up the narrative in some ways. It's like
often,
it's especially whenever it comes to the fuck boat, to the giant brothel that he sets up with the senator's wives. Like they're being conscripted into this, and some of them, and like all of them honestly seem like they're way too into it. Like, they're just like way too eager to be like, all right, sure, for this, for the good of Rome, let's give me that cock.
Right.
But like, why would anyone have that reaction? It's like I just got
Yeah.
conscripted into sex work. Like, that's weird. No, I didn't sign up for this. I just married this jag.
But here's the thing, they kind of allude to that earlier on. Like there actually might be a clever moment in writing when he is first looking at Helen Mirren and Drizella says, "Oh, well, she's divorced from a senator and she's the most promiscuous woman in town. And now that she's divorced from him, she can fulfill all of her sexual desires. That's why you shouldn't marry her." So it makes it kind of, to me, lead to that moment where he's like, "You remember what my sister said about these senator wives being whores? That's what we'll do."
I
I
can
actually recognized a moment that they wrote earlier, and I put those two together. So I didn't think it was too out of the ordinary. Plus, those all the senators are jags. Like, yeah.
the senators are jags, sure,
And did you see the
and
hogs on some of these guys? Like,
oh, trust me, I saw. Yeah, I mean,
but did you
considering they were
look?
just like,
Did you really look?
I had no choice, Antonio. I do agree that, like, they did kind of plant the seed for that kind of line of thought. It's still fucked up though, because he is kind of just
Yeah.
extrapolating, like, she's like this. I bet they're all like this.
Well, yeah, the guy was known for his rational decisions.
Sure. Yeah, it is definitely an example of like maybe this guy's not all together, but
Here's my opinion on
let me
the sex, really fast.
yes.
please.
We talk about that not being sexy. It's because it's not narrative or performative sex. It's all provocative. It's all for provocation. It's meant to elicit a response in the viewer instead of being a part of the story. It's not like the struggling actor wandering into the casting agent's office and like, "I need a job." "Oh, well, how about you take off your pants?" I'm invested in that story 100%. You gave me a conflict, you gave me a resolution, and I can leave happy. But this is just performative, provocative sex that's just there to be there. There's no real lead up to what it is. In the words of Dirk Diggler and Jackie Treehorn, it's just not sexy. And it's not. There's no story behind it. It's just there as like a set piece that the Gooch really just put in there to kind of like, I don't know if it was to intentionally fuck up Tinto Brass's movie, because that's what kind of feels like. I want your opinion. Does this kind of feel like he wanted just to
Oh,
like sink the Titanic?
do you
He's
think
like,
this was a sabotage
it was,
job?
I feel that it was a sabotage job in the sense of like, okay, I don't like this movie that Tinto Brass made. I don't think it's going to make me any money. So I'm going to put a bunch of dicks in it and I'm going to play it as the most provocative mainstream film ever made. And people will line up to go see it, which they did until everyone kind of spread the word that it's not that great. But
Yeah.
I feel that it was a sink the boat situation, in my honest opinion.
Hmm.
Here's
Did the Gooch try to sink the fuck boat?
so he the Gooch brought in, I think it was like 13 penthouse models for the bath
Yeah, it's
scene.
an unlucky number of models right there.
Yeah, but
That was his mistake,
just one too many. One too many. One
or
too
one too
few.
few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always 16. 16 is the number of penthouse models you want. But he brought those in for the bathing scene with Tiberius
Oh, okay.
because the crew had got just normal looking people off the street to be in that scene. They were still naked. They just weren't, models.
You can kind of tell.
Right. Uh, I think once that happened and once Tinto Brass kind of they started arguing and Bob Guccione saw that he was not going to get his way, I think maybe he did. And this was, the movie was already done. But Tinto Brass's movie was already done when this porno was added.
Right. Yeah. This is all in post. Or I think McDowell had referred to it as a betrayal,
Yeah.
feeling like a betrayal because of what they finally saw, because they had no idea that he had gone back and done any of that.
So I feel like Bob Guccione is too much of a narcissist to think that they would go and fuck up a movie. I think he saw this as his movie,
Mm.
not Tinto Brasses, and tried to fix it. And his understanding of what is sexy is
Uh,
vile.
so he's a perverted Harvey Wait. No, Harvey, no, that didn't work. He's a perverted John Peter. Wait, hold on. No, this is seeing a
You're
trend among producers here.
Yeah.
you're reaching, man. You're reaching. Those guys never did anything wrong, right? Well,
God
but
damn.
also, Guccione had invested in successful movies. Like he was a producer on Chinatown, The Longest Yard, and Day of the Locust that were all critically and commercially successful. So I feel that he had, in his opinion, enough cred, street cred, business cred to say, okay, I can make something now that's a little bit more provocative. Everyone knows that I can make real mainstream movies. Now watch what else I can do. Like, so I do agree with the narcissist and the egotistical mindset the guy has to think that he can make a mainstream porn. But also, it's like where I get conflicted is the quality. Like, no one thinks that any of that stuff is good or any of it is sexy. It really just seems like it was thrown together half-handedly, which doesn't seem to track with a guy who seems to be so concerned about quality with all the other things he's working on, you know?
Yeah, it's odd.
2 thoughts. 1, knowing that he invested in those other movies makes Gore Vidal trusting him make way more sense.
Agreed.
Correct.
Because like, Gore, why would you go to this guy to fund your movie script? But if he'd done those other movies, that makes more sense. The second thought is the only way to really tell if he bombed this movie intentionally is to go back to 1978 and watch one of his actual pornos and see if that porn matches up with the porn that's in Caligula.
Have you done that homework, Jack?
Not yet. God, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll to be continued, I suppose.
Season 3, second unit.
Yeah.
The Gooch
We'll
special.
we'll watch some of Tinto Brass's funny porn, and then we'll watch some of the Gooch's actual porn.
Oh boy.
What about the story didn't work for you?
I think so. It got so like chopped up that it was hard to like really give a damn about any of it. Like it felt too disjointed.
Yeah. I feel like that's more on the editing Gooch side than the
Sure, but I mean it's affecting the presentation of that
you're right.
narrative. You know, it's
Well, and also there's like a failed attempt to like humanize Caligula after Drusilla dies, because he's already a wacko. And then the moment, let's say the save the cat moment of her dying and him going out in the streets and being in like this weird depression when he ends up in like the little leper camp, and you feel like maybe this will be a way to understand how he sees the common man and can relate. Like you really kind of get the feeling it's going to go that direction. It doesn't. He becomes ultra maniacal because, yeah, he has faced like trauma and tragedy and depression, and everyone's like really trying to kill him. It's not easy being Caligula. That's understandable. And I think that McDowell's performance tries to reflect that. I think that he really tries to make that connection with the audience, but the movie doesn't back him up. And so that's why it does just seem like a sloppy mess of scene after scene after scene. And that's why I say there is a good movie in here somewhere. Like, if you did put little pieces of performances together and really look at the nuance of that character, even though it's not like there's no redemption, and of course it's going to end in tragedy as films like this do, but we don't care. We don't care. Now, one thing I will give it though is that it has a very awesome score. It's got an amazing
Yeah.
score,
I will give it that. The music does slap.
and it does help a lot with the scenes where you are supposed to have an emotional connection, if not with Caligula, with like another character. whether it's Drusilla. Most of the time, it's Drusilla. Drusilla gets her own score. She gets her own music piece, and I think that's very charming. And that's actually my favorite one. But other than that, yeah, the story is just too all over the place for you to really care. But there is a story in there. Is the point?
Like yes, he is mentally unstable, but there are reasons why he does the things that he does, and we don't see that most of the time.
Mhm.
It's just, oh, he's crazy. He's doing things because he's crazy. The degree of which he is reacting is what makes him unstable. But him going after the senators after Drusilla dies, that makes sense to me. They always were against him. Um, and him what I would have liked to have seen was more of his time with Tiberius when he was maybe even a little younger,
Okay.
because Tiberius tortured the shit out of him.
Mm.
I would have liked to have seen how popular he was with the people.
Yeah, you don't really see a whole lot of him just interacting with Romans.
Yeah, like with the normal everyday Romans, he was very popular for the first like year until, he started to overspend and do other kooky things.
Kooky is the word for it.
Also, they fucked up the ending.
Did they?
The way that Caligula was assassinated is
He doesn't just say scrotum and then gets smacked
Yeah.
upside the head with a sword.
I did kind of like that part. No, the way it happened is already cinematic, and they kind of went the other way with it.
That's weird.
So in real life, again, assuming this all actually happened, they'd wrapped up one of the games, one of the whatever fights, and his advisors were taking him back to the palace in like a tunnel underground. And they stop when they hear like an angelic choir of boys off in like one of the other tunnels. And when they pause, that's when they decide to stab him to death.
In the midst of an angelic choir of boys
Yeah.
in a secret tunnel.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
While also simultaneously stabbing, I forget Helen Mirren's character's name.
Caesonia.
Caesonia, and bashing his child's head off of a wall.
A step.
Yeah, as they traded that for a step.
Yeah,
but
that like I guess they did that, but
Becca and I saw that coming. Like, oh no, they're absolutely gonna, and then they spike it down, and we're like,
Right.
oh yeah, that turned into a Cabbage Patch doll pretty quickly. Okay,
right,
Just,
right.
like, very obviously fake kid here. Here we go.
Like you had this perfectly good actual thing that happened. You didn't do okay. Scrotum it is.
Scrotum it is.
Any last thoughts on Caligula? What worked, what didn't work?
Becca really liked the way that he just celebrated his horse.
Yeah. Good. He did love that horse.
He did love that horse.
I mean, the last movie that y'all talked about with me on your show was what movie was it? Why am I drawing a blank?
For the Grower Nut Shower, or
No, on your
on
show.
On this show.
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. We talked about Heaven's Gate, where horses are
Yeah.
just blown up willy-nilly. So
yeah, that's great.
So it was nice to see a horse get affection in this movie.
Yeah. Just I know you didn't enjoy that part, Jack.
A horse will never be in my bed unless it's just the head. And it's a warning from the dawn.
Just imagine you waking up in the midst of that Godfather scenario
Yeah.
and be like, oh boy.
Yeah. Free candy.
Oh no.
I was confused. Maybe misunderstood the message I was supposed to get.
The Don got me a present.
Fuck that horse. Wonderful. Hey, I can't wait to have you back for the second part of this, which will happen later.
Like right now.
But let's end this episode by hearing a little bit about yourself and your podcast.
All right. Well, my podcast is the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast, of which you have both been guests. We did the Growers Not Showers episode, which was a lot of fun. A lot of people seem to like
Yeah,
it.
I love that episode. That was a great time.
And then we also have the Cultworthy Classic, which I think you've done twice, or no, just the once. You did
I think
Joe.
just once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
you
did
did
Joe,
Joe.
and then we were on your original show previously to do the Adventures
Baron
of Baron
Munchausen.
Munchausen and
Sound of
Cut-
Thunder.
Sound of Thunder.
Sound of Thunder. God damn it, that movie.
Yeah.
That was it.
So yeah, those are my main shows, and I also have a third show that is not a cinema
Yes.
podcast called The MILF and Me, where my friend Diana, who is a 41-year-old MILF, jumps on and talks about her dating life and how it sucks in conservative Utah, and we are both very liberal, and I just sit there and listen to it. It's pretty much how that show goes. A lot of fun, a lot of spicy chat. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd for my movie reviews, Facebook, Twitter under the Cultworthy, and my website, thecultworthy.com.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Where can they find us, Joe?
I think they know where they can find us, but wherever you listen to podcasts, please rate and review as we asked earlier. If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter at DeRazzledPod, Instagram and TikTok at DeRazzled_podcast, or Facebook at DeRazzledPodcast. If you have a request for something you'd like to see us cover in season 3, please email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com. We are also taking requests for anything you'd like to see pop up in our Redbubble merch store. And I think that about covers it.
Great. Hey, and make sure to come back next time where we'll
We'll be sure to razzle dazzle you.
I didn't say it.
Nope.
I didn't know that's where you were going. Razzle dazzle.
There we go. Fuck.
Oh, buddy. Okay.
Shit, we forgot to talk about whether or not it deserved its.
Well, it didn't have it
accolades.
didn't have accolades.
It didn't have accolades,
Yeah,
but
we
I
just kind of skipped that part.
Deserved its. Maybe that'll be our cold open. Did it deserve the hate that it has earned?
Yeah, yeah, it's a reasonable way to start episode 2.
Right.
Yeah, I like it.
Anybody need to pee or get water? Or
I need
stretch?
to refill my water. I'm gonna do that.
Great.
I'm good. I got my soda right here.
Antonio, do you I know you have friends that are filmmakers. Do you do any filmmaking, or did you do any filmmaking?
Yeah, in my younger days, in my early 20s, we had a little production company called 15secondfix.com. This is pre-YouTube. And what we would do is we would do a 90-second short film each week, but only release it 15 seconds at a time, day by day. So you'd go back, you watch 15 seconds, and at the end of the week, you could watch all of it. And we did, like 20 or 30 of those. We entered some into like little film festivals and stuff like that. And then, everyone was bitching at each other. And so we quit. And then like a year later, YouTube started. And one of the guys put a bunch on there, and they had one that actually was viral for a while. And but yeah, I never really had the time to get back into it.
Sure.
We got back together. We had like a reunion like 5 or 6 years after we shut down, and we did like one last movie together, which I directed, and it was silly and fun, and that's it. After that, it was just mostly post-production. I had a side gig for a while. This will be an interesting episode that I'm trying to like figure out how to work. So here in Utah, it was big news in the late 90s and up until like the mid 2000s. There were all these video companies that you would buy a movie, you would bring it to these video companies, and they would edit out any nudity, swearing.
Interesting.
Essentially
I've heard of this kind of thing. Yeah.
Essentially making like airline versions of movies like they used to have everything like kind of cut out.
Yeah.
And James Cameron sued them because they were taking all the boobies out of Titanic, and he won.
He
won. And so it shut him down, and it was called Clean Flicks. And we tried to get the rights to make a documentary about it like 15 years ago, and someone had already beat us to the punch, but it never came out. And it's still, I think, on IMDb is like in production. Like they'll release it someday. But yeah, all that shit happened
Interesting.
here in Utah, and I actually got a job working for them. I was a plant. Like, I was getting info about them for the documentary, and they gave me a laptop, they gave me all this editing software, and I would go in and I would literally edit all the swearing and any nudity and boob scenes and violence out of things. It was a pretty crazy
What
thing.
the hell?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I hope you guys are able to do something with that material.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, we have a bunch of footage and interviews somewhere, but like I said, someone else was like really pushing to get it done. So,
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I bring that up is we are thinking of doing something different for season 3's finale. Um, Specifically, it is called the. Let's see
I
if I can
wasn't sure.
remember it.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you're going to share the big secret.
Just with Antonio.
Okay,
Um, what is it? The unofficial Willem Dafoe Bad Art Movie Festival Awards.
something like that. Yeah.
So Willem Dafoe has this audio clip that has been making the rounds on like TikTok and stuff, where he talks about how important it is to specifically make bad art,
Mhm.
to go out of your way to make bad art, and how freeing it is and how important it is as an artist to do that. To kind of like break that fear of making bad art by just doing it. Uh, so we have a bunch of kind of filmmaker friends that are in the same boat, that they used to do it and then life caught up with them, whatever, or they froze.
Right.
They let the fear kind of catch them and they stopped. So what we want to do for the finale of season 3 is um, a film festival of specifically bad short films.
Purposefully bad short
Um,
films.
I like
and
this a lot.
give awards to the worst films. So I wanted to mention it to you. I didn't know if you still did filmmaking or if you uh, knew any buds that would want to submit something awful.
Oh, definitely. We'll submit something awful. Give me something to
Great,
do. Yeah, we love
great.
that kind of stuff.
Hell yeah.
Right now, I'm just kind of testing the waters to see if if we have enough people that would do it to have a festival.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna do one, obviously, but
Yeah.
a festival of one is not quite fun.
Um,
As they
I'll
say.
so I'm actually sponsoring 2 local short film festivals in
Oh,
April and
nice.
in May.
No
And
shit.
the first one is April 17th. And I'll be on the judging panel of 9 of them. And so I'll talk to those
Sweet.
guys like, "Hey, if you guys really make this happen, these are just people who are just eager to show anything anywhere."
Great.
But I haven't
Yeah.
seen any of them yet, so we'll see if there's some bad ones. I'm like,
Sure.
I know a guy.
We want to see if we can hunt down like a $25 gift certificate to Chili's.
I like
I
it.
don't think they have Chili's anymore, but that's
No, chili still exists.
oh, I kind of wanted it not to.
It's
Um,
It's Applebee's that are hard to find these days.
There's still a few
not
out there.
here. We have
Yeah, there's still some
we're
Applebee's around
lousy
here.
with Applebee's.
All of our Applebee's have turned like into
Oh,
Shake
I think
Shacks or whatever out here.
No.
maybe I'm thinking of Chi-Chi's.
You might be thinking
I
of
might be thinking
Chi-Chi's.
Chi-Chi's.
Yeah, I haven't seen a Chi-Chi's in a long time now that
Great.
you mention it.
$25 gift certificate to Chi-Chi's.
Good luck.
It'll just be drawn on the back of a piece of cardboard. Cool. Everyone ready to hop into episode 2?
Ready.
Cool. Joe, levels all great?
Yeah, everything's
Cool,
good.
cool. Caligula. That's a movie. That's a man.
That's a movie, man.
That's a movie, man. Man. We did not talk about whether we thought Caligula deserved the hatred that it's earned, the ire, the fear.
Yeah, it's a little hard for us to fear.
It's placed behind the beaded curtain. It earned that.
Oh, it certainly earned that. No,
that.
that without a doubt, it's earned that. Yeah, it's a little hard. It's a little hard given how we normally talk about that because it didn't win any stinkers and the Razzies didn't exist, so we can't really judge it by that criteria.
Think of it like this: when I heard about Caligula, I thought of 2 things: ew, and horny. Right?
Yeah, see, that was my initial that was like my initial impression based on like what I had heard about the film was just, oh yeah, super horny, right? That's just it's just like just nonstop wall to wall sex, and like it is, but also gross.
So is it an awful film in your opinion? Awful, icky, porno, gross film.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll say yeah. Because here's the thing, it's not art. Like it's maybe art to Tinto Brass, even though he's disowned it. May it be
Mhm.
art to somebody. What I think it's become now is a subversive curio, like I said in the last episode.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The 67% 5-star reviews on Amazon is kind of a testament to that. People who are so excited they got it on Blu-ray. And I during the break of the last episode, while y'all were peeing, I was reading more of these. And I'm telling you, some of these reviews, like these people have, I'm not joking, like 8-paragraph dissertations of what makes this film so amazing, where they've broken down like almost every cum shot in their Amazon review.
There you go, Joe. That's what you're looking for.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's what you look.
not. No, this guy's stroke speed's entirely wrong. He just
So, like I said, there is an audience now for subversive curios. That's why we're seeing a lot of these boutique labels releasing $50, $60 4K reservations of 60s, 70s, and 80s erotica, stuff that wasn't even available in like actual movie theaters unless you were in the San Fernando Valley. And now people are looking at it as unrepresented and misunderstood art. And I feel that's where this kind of falls.
that's fascinating. I had no idea there
Okay.
was that kind of market for that thing.
Oh,
I think
100%.
Hmm.
judging by the two cuts that I've watched, it's earned its icky bad film. Did I like it? Kinda. Am I fascinated by it? Yes. Yeah, I am fascinated by it.
It's definitely more. I like. I didn't like it, but it is fascinating. I think that's a good word for it.
Yeah. Great. Welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, and here to suffer alongside me, as always, is also host Joe Nealis.
Please sign my petition to get Caligula in the next Kingdom Hearts game.
I already signed
Uh,
it.
Hell yeah! Thank you.
The fan art is already being sent in. Once again, we
You
are
didn't know that goof did that.
God.
once again we are greeted by Antonio of the Cultworthy podcast. Hello, Antonio.
Hello. Thanks for having me back to talk about Caligula even more.
Absolutely our pleasure.
This doesn't count as your hat trick, though. Another podcast has to come and ask you on to talk about this.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
I wanted to take a second to talk about how we first encountered Caligula, but you did that in the last episode, and it frankly can't be beat.
No, honestly, it's perfect.
Um,
Well, I'd love to ask you. This was your pick. You picked this.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, you did, Jack.
um, I have kind of gotten into finding movies that are hard to find. Not that this one's like super difficult to find, but either movies that are underwatched or hard to find, or you can only find like a super grainy pixelated version on the internet, um, or movies that like somebody talked to me at a party once in college and they were like, kind of like, over here, Caligula. Um, it's got boobies. And also, I find Helen Mirren to be very attractive, except for in this movie. So that kind of
Oh.
backfired.
I wouldn't say she wasn't attractive in this movie.
I
I'd say
would.
I would say I would say that she looks so like just sick of where she is that I feel more for her pain of being
Yeah.
there than I am like, hey, how you doing?
Right. Like she gives off a vibe like, please just don't.
Yeah,
I'm like, I hear you.
like,
That
I won't. I respect that.
fake pregnant belly, and you can just stand over there.
Oh god, I almost forgot
Mhm.
about the whole birthing scene. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, I there's that, and also some of the weirder, harder movies to find. I wouldn't even want to talk about uh on the internet.
You fucking pervert.
Yeah. And Joe won't let me talk about plague dogs anymore.
No, only
Um,
because you were doing it on like a daily Robert Evans-esque level. Like,
It's a really interesting film.
Have you read the book? It's even more depressing.
No, I want to.
Yeah,
Is it in the public domain? We could do an audiobook of it.
Richard
Oh,
Adams,
God,
who
no.
wrote Watership Down too, which is the
Yeah.
other most
Mhm.
disturbing animated film. I did both Play
It's
Dogs and Watership Down last April on my animated April series, you
Yeah.
know, so
I remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since you already did it, it's fine.
Yeah. I licked it, it's mine. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not the rule in the world of Caligula.
No.
I licked it.
Oh, I licked it. Have some.
Oof. So let's talk about who's responsible for this fucking disaster after Joe
Mhm.
reminds us some things.
Oh yeah, I should probably remind everybody to go and rate and review the show everywhere that I possibly can, like on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, or wherever you listen to podcasts to help other people find us.
We just want love.
We just want love.
Did you know there's a massive petition for a 4K release of this that I'm looking at right now?
A 4K release of it? Oh my god! Can you imagine this in 4 fucking K?
I would watch this on Blu-ray. I would not watch this in 4K.
I'm almost afraid to watch this on 4K. Now I'm getting why you said
might
fear
get
earlier.
something in my eye if I watch it in 4K.
Just
This movie
4K 4D.
I don't want to
you guys
get
just
too
skaters?
obscene. I don't want to get too obscene on your guys' show, but I
you
gotta admit, you can smell this movie and it is not pleasant.
You can.
You can literally
talked about that.
smell this movie.
We talked yesterday about how this had to be just the stankiest set in the history of film.
That first
It smells like
First of
ASU in July. Like it is so. It's not good, y'all.
all right, serious question. Worst set to be on stank wise.
Oh yeah.
God.
Yeah.
No,
you're gonna do an either or.
Which specific set?
In the film?
Oh, out of
Or-
this?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I'm gonna say the introduction to Peter O'Toole's character. His little haven of just weird boner stilt guys and people getting fingered.
okay, I wasn't sure.
On multiple tiers.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you meant like the fuck mountain setup that he had going, or the grotto,
Or the fuck pond.
The fuck
No,
pond. Yeah.
The fuck pond is actually rather pleasant. Like I would take a swim in the fuck pond in like a second. It looked nice. But I mean, Peter O'Toole's like
water in your mouth.
his Castle Grayskull of boners and dildos and all that other shit. Like I would say that, especially with that hot lighting they got on there, man, that's hot.
That I think that sells it for me, is that fucking lighting, because my immediate knee-jerk reaction is the fuck boat brothel, but the lighting on that fucking multi-tiered set, that might be it.
Is that the same scene that I know? It's the scene where somebody's disemboweled.
It is the same scene where somebody, it's the same, it's the same scene as the wine jug.
What scene has the pee scene? Is it that
that's
one?
That's later.
Okay,
that's later. That's close to the end.
Because that probably didn't smell great.
No.
Yeah, that's after
on your floor.
That's after he kills the dude that he butt fisted, and then the girls come over and they pee on his dead body.
That poor actor.
Oh my god, man!
Just to put that little Salt Bay, little sprinkle on it. It's a finishing move.
Oh yes, thank you, Piss Bay.
Hashtag Piss Bay.
We've talked about how he showed up with his family, right?
Yeah, we do. We touched on that. Wait, did we touch on that?
No, I was waiting for this segment.
Great, here we are.
No, we talked so much about it throughout the day that I forgot we didn't actually say it on mic. Fuck.
So the actor who does get fuck, we didn't do a disclaimer. Hey,
I'll copy and paste the disclaimer from the first
Fantastic,
episode.
great. The actor who gets fisted by Malcolm McDowell was not quite aware that that's what was going to happen that day, and showed up with his family to watch him in this performance. He was very proud he had gotten into this big Hollywood movie, and
Thank you so much, Antonio, for sharing that Gilbert Gottfried episode with us, because
It's gold.
it's gold.
now
It's
what you don't, because Malcolm McDowell also told that story in the commentary, but what he did not repeat in the podcast is it's him talking to whomever it is, and he's like, there's this take where I take a flower out of my crown or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and poop it right in his butt. However, Malcolm McDowell thought that they'd cut that because the actor was so upset by that specifically. He's like,
Oh.
yeah, he's like, so we didn't do it. We didn't do it because like it would really upset the actor. And then the movie shows him doing exactly that, and he's like, oh well, I guess we did.
Yep.
Whoops.
Oh my god. I just love that, like, he found out, like he was so upset about the idea of, like, buggering, as he put it. Yeah,
Buggery.
he didn't want to perform buggery on camera because he didn't feel that would
Right.
he felt that would be a kind of a career ender for him.
It was 79. It wouldn't have been.
He didn't think people were ready for it.
They probably weren't.
They probably weren't. That, but so he's like arguing with Gore Vidal, who's then calling him a prude for not wanting to do this. It's like
To
like
Gore
a
Vidal, probably. Yeah.
fair. But then he finds out from somebody else, from what I think it was from a producer who like would gone to a sex party in New
Right.
York, or went to a gay club in New York, and it was, yeah, they fuck each other with their fists on stage in front of everybody. He goes, fist, you say?
Fist, you say?
Fist,
I
you
could
say?
do that.
Huh, I'll fist this guy.
That won't end my career. And it didn't.
And it didn't. No.
Remember him on Alex Mack? He fisted a guy.
Hell, I used to
Sweet
play
Jesus.
Wing Commander in the 90s on PC, and he was like in 3 of those. He doesn't fist anybody in those, but
Not on screen.
not on screen.
Let's talk about the people responsible for this film. We'll start with Gore Vidal, partially because he's the one. I'm a bad theater student, and I know probably the least about him.
Okay.
I know he was an author, playwright, politician, novelist, bit of an asshole, super witty, leaned liberal. Is known for writing this novel called Maya Breckenridge, which was also turned into a movie, but he disowned it. It contains one of the first instances of a main character having a sex change operation.
Oh.
He himself was gay, maybe.
I mean,
He said he was not gay, but
Hoink. Yeah. I mean, the only reason I know anything about that is because they reference him having sex with Colonel Gentleman in the Venture Brothers.
Right.
But
which
Gentleman gets around. What can we
right,
say?
you know, I can get very prominent in like the sexual liberation aspect. He did some script doctoring on Ben-Hur. He acted in Gattaca.
Oh, okay.
And a bit of a contrarian vibe I get from this dude. Had a lot of public tiffs.
He was just a shit talker, man. Like he just
yeah.
he was a liberal shit talker, and he was good at it. And I think one of the most interesting things about him is that he loved to debate with real, just like Bible Belt conservative assholes on TV, and just really put him in his place. I mean, if they would have had some of his debates on TikTok now, everyone would know who he was. Like it really is like what people are doing right now on TikTok and Instagram, just getting online and debating Bible Belt conservatives. Like this guy was doing that in like the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
So I think he laid the groundwork for that.
Can we repurpose our TikTok to just rebroadcasting this Gore Vidal footage?
God, I wish I'd looked up what plays he had written, but I have no idea. Anyway, an important political figure and a social personality.
An interesting cultural force.
Yes. Uh, let's talk about Tinto Brass, which we did a little bit in the previous episode.
A little bit, yeah. Which I also I feel compelled to just point out, what a fucking name.
Yeah, it's a great name.
It's so many people in these stories that we've been covering as of late. They're just buck wild names.
Tinto Brass, the Gooch.
The Gooch.
So he started out in avant-garde cinema. When he got to the 70s, specifically Salon Kitty in 76, he started to lean more towards the erotic cinema. Caligula only pushed him further in that direction. I don't know what I read that made me write this note down, but could have used a sex coordinator or an intimacy coordinator. I imagine his sets were not super fun to be on. If you were, you know, a woman.
I would agree with that.
You're probably wrong onto something there.
But it was Bob Guccione and I think Gore Vidal seeing Salon Kitty that led to him being chosen to direct Caligula.
Did you know that he was also in the early runnings to direct Clockwork Orange before Kubrick took it?
I do, yeah.
I did not know that.
Which, like,
very different movie.
Yeah.
I guess makes sense, but also it's kind of gross. But I guess
yeah,
it was also kind of gross.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of
it was even perfect.
Kind of part of the whole deal.
he has a style.
And I think he is the reason that we ended up with Teresa What's Her Futz for Drusilla, because he'd worked with her before.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Hey, Bob Guccione, the Gooch. He started Penthouse, right? Like he's the reason it exists entirely. He's a bit of a failed painter. And he was like, I can't paint, let's do porn.
I mean, at least he didn't go the Hitler route, I guess, but
right. There's actually kind of a bit of a theme to this episode where the person's a failed artist, so they turn into a monster instead.
God.
So yeah, he was a failed painter, wasn't able to make any money. So he created Penthouse magazine, which was basically Playboy but with Bush.
Yeah.
It was one of the first, if not the first, magazine to have pubic hair, full frontal. He expanded his business into everything a boob could be in, including comic books, which will be something I will try to find on my own time.
So incoming Grant Morrison reference in 3, 2, 1.
No, not yet. No. Well,
not
actually,
yet.
I was thinking about Grant Morrison while I was working on this episode, because
of course you were.
You did this to me. I was going to save it for myself. So Grant Morrison was working on this comic book called The Filth.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this to me the other day.
And in order for him to write it, it's called The Filth, and he watched every vile, disgusting human act, mostly porn, in order to saturate his brain and write this, and it really ruined them. And that's kind of what I feel like a little bit with Caligula. Like I really can't wait to be done with this episode so I can stop thinking about dicks and comes and bulls on people's faces. Although I don't ever want to forget the image of the dickmonger that you see when Malcolm McDowell's kind of wandering through the village. He's sad, and there's somebody behind him, just like an extra behind him with like
wearing the big dick hat.
He's wearing like a big dick hat, and he has like extra dicks he's trying to like sell.
Yep.
He's like, dicks for sale, dicks. Anyone want a dick? That is a job I would not mind having if it paid rent.
There were two people who like that stood out to me. One was him, and the other was in the giant multi-tiered Peter O'Toole fuck mountain.
Right.
Was the guy juggling the big golden dicks?
He was impressive.
Yes.
Not as impressive as the guy in like the kind of like middle stage area of Fuck Mountain.
Yes.
Who jumped and clapped the entire time into the
Yes.
next day when everybody else was passed out. And
He
like
did have some unbelievable
he was
stamina.
just
I
like,
forgot about that
"Eh,
guy.
eh."
I like Boner Stiltman, guys. Boner Stiltman.
Boner
Boner
Stilt. Okay, Boner Stiltman's pretty good. Yeah.
Boner
Did-
Stillman,
Did
attorney at
did-
law.
Well, we found the episode title. All right.
Oh shit.
not enough screen time in my opinion, but
Agreed.
The like Carney's Dick Carney's in that scene. That is the movie that I would make. I would kind of like
It is.
let them film what they're doing with the dicks, and then we're like, all right, now we're going to talk about like your personal stories as Dick Carney's.
What happens when the Dick Carney goes home to his family?
Right. Yeah.
so Jack wants to make Santa Sangre, but with the Dick Carneys from Caligula.
That is what it is, isn't it? God damn it. Well, it's already been done. Fuck.
You're right. Who says that
Oh,
art is
God.
dead? Oh my god.
I'm gonna have some real weird dreams tonight.
Oh, thank you for that.
So the
Continue.
So
Bob Guccione.
two real quick notes for the Gooch. He wanted to follow up this movie, assuming it had been successful, with can you guess what historical figure?
Why is Catherine the Great?
It's
jumped to
Catherine the
mind?
Great.
God,
It's-
no! Damn it!
It's obviously Catherine the Great.
I'm so mad.
Yeah, me too.
God, no, the horse was not going to have a good time in that one.
Mercifully, this movie bombed.
Thank fuck. Oh.
He did, however, and I can't even fault him for this. He did reutilize the sets and the costumes to make an actual Roman porno,
All right,
which I'm like,
fine.
right?
Yeah,
No, that makes sense.
you know what? Good. I'm glad. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Thank
Right.
you.
Right.
I better see that dick monger in there.
You gotta keep that man employed.
And then the really the biggest reason we have this movie is Caligula, the man himself.
Yeah,
Little
boots.
Boots. Really quick history on him. You could do like an 8-part series on Caligula. So the reason he's called Little Boots is he used to go with his father, who was a general, basically as the mascot. He was like the little like soldier mascot, and they would dress him up.
Refer to him
Yeah.
as his dad's mascot
Yeah.
at some
Mhm.
point. I was like, "What the fuck's that about? That's weird."
And he would put on a soldier's uniform, but it's small and it's cute, and he would wear like little boots,
These little boots.
and he hated that name,
Sure.
which makes sense. So we mentioned a little bit in the first episode that it's difficult to know what is true, what is not true, mostly because the people who wrote the history on Caligula did it like 100 years after he had already died and hated him. So
Somewhat biased.
right.
Not the most objective historical view on a person.
So the movie actually doesn't do a whole lot of the more obviously fake bullshit, excluding him sleeping with his sister. That's kind of the most prominent myth about him.
So we don't know if that's
We
actually
don't-
true.
I think there's 4 people who wrote about Caligula, 3 or 4 people who wrote about him, and only one of them mentions that specifically his grandmother caught him in bed with his sister, and it was when they were children. I'm kind of leaning towards it not being the case, but also I don't care, because it was the year of our Lord 19. Other things that are kind of probably not true. Unfortunately, he probably did not make his horse a senator.
I'm offended by this.
I'm a little bummed.
I reject this reality and substitute my own. That horse ran for office and held that office for like 20 years.
There is he worked on infrastructure.
He
He lowered taxes. It was
He's great for
beloved.
the average Roman.
How do you say the horse's name?
Incitatus, I'm pretty sure.
Incitatus. There is a slightly higher chance that he was made a priest
Sure.
because it was probably a little easier to be like, my horse is now a priest. He did give the horse slaves.
What?
Um, they mentioned this in the movie, kind of, sorta. So he considered himself to be a god.
Problematic ass horse got slaves. This is fucked up.
It's a little, yeah. He also made everyone worship his sister as though she were also a god. And his horse was like somewhat less than a god.
I mean, I guess it'd be kind of weird if you're a god and the people you are a blood relative of
Yeah.
aren't gods. That'd be a
Yeah.
little strange, right?
I mean, it makes sense, but it also made everybody pretty angry.
I mean, they're already polytheistic,
Right. And he worshipped Isis, which was already weird.
Yeah, he's already
Um,
worshiping like a completely different pantheon's gods.
So like some stuff that I would have liked to have seen in the movie. So people hated Emperor Tiberius.
Mm.
He was a horrible tyrant, molested children, then threw them off a cliff. It became a thing. It was a bit of a thing. They named the cliff after him.
That doesn't need to be a thing.
Either part, really.
No, none of that. None of that needed to be a thing. That
he was really worried that Caligula's family would assassinate him, so he was like, "Well, I'm gonna assassinate you." Specifically, Caligula's father, who was very popular. It's highly likely that he was poisoned by Tiberius. He, in finger quotes, invited Caligula to stay with him on Capri. Good chance that he was also assaulted. Almost certainly was made to watch the things that Tiberius did.
Yeah.
And as Tiberius kind of slowly worked his way through Caligula's family as far as killing them, he would look to see if Caligula would react.
That's fucked up.
It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And Caligula had to not, because if he did, then he would be questioning the authority of the emperor and then be put to death.
Not ideal.
It's almost like, and it's in the movie too. There's a quote from Tiberius that's like, "I'm creating a viper in Rome's butt."
Yeah, that was the famous butt viper line. Yeah.
Right. That one. Basically, he's like, "I know what I'm doing. I'm creating a monster for Rome."
Yeah, I remember something. I forget the exact line, but yeah, it was something along
later.
that sentiment.
So he was Tiberius was eventually assassinated. There's this. So you remember Jamilus?
Like his brother, or
the little step brother? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The one who was very afraid most of the time.
Right, as he should have been.
Yeah.
So he was actually like should have been the Caesar, but he was too young.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiberius didn't actually like making decisions because he kind of wanted to just go fuck.
He had a lot of fucking and killing to do, you see.
Right. So when he had to decide who's going to be the Caesar, he just called up the two boys, and whoever arrived first
made the decision.
Was the Caesar.
Oh, so he just won a race, basically.
Yeah, but they didn't know. It was an unknown race because they didn't know.
That's not fair.
Specifically because Jamilus was hungry, so he stopped and ate breakfast first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
I would have done the same thing, though.
Yeah, me too.
You gotta have a breakfast. I can't function well without a breakfast.
I don't want to go see pervert Tiberius without something.
I can't do this again on an empty stomach, guys.
And that's why you lose, Jamilus.
Jesus Christ.
So Caligula became the emperor, the Caesar, and he was really popular with people for the first couple months to a year. He gave bonuses to his soldiers. He freed the enslaved, which is a good place to start.
We kind of see some of that in the film.
Yeah, we do.
There's a lot of like, you get this, you get extra money right now.
So like Tiberius was really stingy, did not spend any money. So when Caligula showed up, he's like, "Oh, I got all this money I need to spend." Gave it to soldiers, spent it on infrastructure, building shit. Threw some great parties,
Yeah.
which we definitely see in the movie. This is one that I was kind of surprised by and really liked. He made all government documents available to the common man.
Really?
Yeah.
What
I'm
were
like,
the what were the no, but what were the literacy rates?
oh, that's a good point. You can all read this if you could read.
You
Did
may
red
all take a look at this.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
redaction exist back then?
That's true. It's like if you stop right here, it was great. It was pretty good. Then he became ill.
Right.
It's people can't decide whether he became ill because of of an illness or if he was poisoned.
Did he magically get better as quickly as he did in the film?
Unknown by me, maybe.
Just-
I don't know. Uh, I see in the film. I got the vibe that it was an infection because then Drusilla becomes ill.
I mean, she got it from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he just kind of like magically pops back up, like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm fine." Like,
He's got that spunky Caligula godness to him. I don't know. And either way, after that, he became a dick.
yep.
Yep. And then 4 years later, after 4 years of reigning, he was assassinated. So didn't go well for him. But not bad for rolling for 4 years, and we're still talking about him today, even if it's because he's a pervert dick.
Well, it also makes me wonder, like, how much of the stories are apocryphal. Like we associate Caligula with debauchery. It's the most extreme form, but is that because of the movie and how it was told and what it displayed, or from actual like people digging into historical documents and the historical references? Because for me, whenever I hear Caligula reference, it's about debauchery, and it mostly has to do with the film and how the film portrays him. So
Yeah. So my research on him went beyond the film. But even when I was researching him in other areas, they also brought up the film.
Hmm.
But he did have several historians who wrote about him. Um, yeah, I, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's the parts that I pointed out that are probably not true, like him sleeping with his sister or making his horse a senator, probably not true. But given the culture of the time, and that historians probably think that he probably had a personality disorder.
That's probably a safe bet, right? Like, I don't want to pathologize, but like, given all the shit that went
Yeah.
down, like there's something's not right there.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. But if you want to be Team Caligula, you do you.
Well, I mean, it didn't really end well for Caesars in general. I mean,
True.
No.
if this guy got just a little bit more randy with things and still went out the way other Caesars do, hey, at least he had a good time doing it. I don't think all the other Caesars had a fuck boat, so winning.
True.
Hashtag.
I'm pretty sure he is the only one that had a fuck boat.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because I researched Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius,
Claudius.
Claudius, and then
No,
Nero.
Claudio's the front man of Coheed and Cambria. I know it's Claudius.
Little different. And I think Caligula was down with the fuck boat. Nero got up to some weird shit too, but not quite as perverse.
Well, I
as,
mean, rock stars do what they do on tour. It's
right,
just
right. We did talk about that. But what I was mentioning earlier about how they wanted to be an artist and then things went poorly when they weren't allowed to be. Caligula was originally just wanted to be a poet.
Hmm.
And I think a dancer.
No, he's got those sick moves.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've seen the film. And
Yeah,
then
but
he
it's like just
became
one routine that's like choreographed, dude. Like I want to see his
That's true.
freestyle before I make any judgment
I
calls.
would like to see him pop and lock it a little bit. Maybe see if he throw down some cardboard, see if he could break dance. Yeah, just get silly with it.
he wasn't quite as bad as Nero, who every time he was left to his own devices was like, I'm going on tour with my poetry.
I must perform for
Right.
Genoa.
Right.
Good.
Oh yeah, they both pissed off. They they started to put statues of themselves in like I think it was Jewish temples.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's shitty.
Yeah. There's like yeah, my sister should be in your temple. She's a goddess now. She goes in there. And Nero, after his people got mad at him, he's like, it was the Christians. So that's doesn't go well. Hey, let's take a break.
All right.
And we'll be on to our final part where I'm gonna
Fix the damn
magically fix this thing.
thing.
I'm excited for this part.
I can't wait to hear what you've got cooked up for this.
No. I need to plug my laptop in. Nope, that can't be it. There we go.
One of these days we'll have a wire system that isn't just a giant nest of bullshit in between our computers on this table.
I've seen worse.
What did you just do? I didn't even see it.
He was plugging his computer in. Just
Oh, batteries,
yeah.
battery.
No, we already talked about the gooch.
Talked about the what now?
Gooch.
Gooch.
Oh, the gooch. Yeah, we talked about the gooch. We've talked quite a bit about the gooch.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I have to wake up at 6.
Jesus Christ.
Me too.
Gross. Yeah, but it's 11:30 here.
That's true.
All right, ready? I'm gonna this last little bit of energy. I'm gonna make it happen. All right,
Do it.
Welcome back. We're gonna fix Caligula.
Please. For the love
And
of God.
how?
I'm gonna call it Caligula.
Brilliant.
I thought it was really good. They started well. Title Caligula. I knew what it was about. I even
Succinct to the point.
the poster's pretty cool. I actually like the first 2 minutes.
I
Really
do
good.
like the poster. Yeah.
And the score, keeping the score. I want to, maybe lean a little bit more to the historical drama aspect. Still keep it erotic. Still going to be well. We're going to make it hot.
I say, please make it hot at least. Like,
Right.
if it's gonna, if we're going to do this,
I kind of what you were saying in the last episode, Antonio, where the sex is more motivated, the story wise, instead of just cut to fellatio.
Now, I have to commend the sexual performers in this movie because anyone that's worked a set, this is beyond a typical porno set for sure. Like, there are costumes and lighting and props and so many camera setups. Those boys got to be at the ready. And I don't think they get enough credit. I feel that the filmmakers kind of did them dirty. They didn't really focus on the prowess of these specimens.
They did. There's some talk about the woman who volunteered to pee on a guy. They basically gave her a gallon of water, had her drink it, and then stand by. Like, stand by. We're gonna finish. Just one more take. Just one more take. Don't pee yet. One more take.
We wait for golden hour.
Right. Fuck. I liked it. So I want to start with Caligula when he first is arriving on Capri, when he's first being tormented by his adopted uncle. I want to see, I want to build some sympathy for this kid. You know, hearing about his brothers being killed, his father being killed. I think his mother committed suicide, if I recall.
Yeesh.
So that this isn't quite true, but the only family he has left is Drusilla. So they're like trauma bonded. He actually had some other sisters alive, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, we don't see them in the
No,
film either,
no.
so it's fine.
This is the only person he feels safe with. This is the only person he feels like he can relate to, who's also obviously lost all of her family. But living with Tiberius fucked up his idea of a healthy sex life, also made him fascinated with death, um, to the point where all he really wants is to spend time with his sister and hopefully see Isis in the afterlife. Like we have, I thought there was a number of cool scenes in the movie where he's talking in the ear of, I think it's Nerva,
Mm.
and then in a much more perverse way, the soldier that he's tormenting, kind of like talking in their ear, like, "Tell me what you see."
Yeah, that I found
Yeah,
fascinating. Like his insistence on asking, like, "Do you see Isis?" and
yeah,
wanting to know like what she looks like and what she's saying and so on and so forth. Like just that little hint into his sort of his like particular brand of psychosis
yeah.
and obsession. It is, but it's not grounded to anything else. Like, it's
No,
just kind of thrown. It's kind of peppered in there at a couple of different points.
Well, it's also like his connection to boyhood innocence because he's acting like someone who's seen Santa Claus. He's so fascinated by the
Yeah,
yeah,
idea of it. So it does bring, like I said, there are moments in this film that bring like some humanity to him, but the film doesn't allow that to play out
yeah.
because there's boners in between.
the boners are very distracting.
They are,
They
man.
are. They are.
Boners have a place, a
That's-
time and a place. It's buggery. Uh, McDowell talks about in the commentary how an early iteration of the script basically has him start to end crazy, crazy, crazy. And he's like, that's not fun to play. It's not fun to watch. And we do see him ramp up, but I still think he hits that quote unquote crazy way too early.
I'd agree with that.
I think you can even push that further away. So you start with him as a kid, a young adult, whatever. Probably young adult would be a little bit more comfortable, given what's
Yeah.
going on around him. Uh,
You can fudge the age a little bit, just make him a little older for it to not just completely turn
right.
people off from it.
Um, Something that I noticed while watching or learning about these different Caesars is their lives are all super cyclical. Where they start out, they don't want to be Caesar, they want to do something else. They end up as Caesar, they become monsters.
Hmm.
That happens with Tiberius, that happens with Caligula. Claudius was just too happy and drunk to give a shit. And
That
then
tracks.
Nero, all three of them, that happens. Um, and that's what I want to see here is like we see Tiberius, we see him afraid of Tiberius, he becomes Tiberius.
Get kind of really exemplify that cycle more thoroughly.
Yeah, like focus on that, not the boners. Um,
I
I
mean,
also want
yeah.
to.
I mean, we don't want to completely abandon the boners,
No.
just so we don't want them to be quite as distracting.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
we shot the scene with the guys, the spies, sucking each other off. We're using the scene.
This is completely unacceptably unprofessional. Like you're on a job site. Come on.
I don't know what they were trying to tell me with that scene.
It's kind of bewildering.
They have like Drusilla and Caligula are talking in bed. I think they're like plotting or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's this like frowning face on the wall that whoever the architect was like, oh, this would be great for spies to look through. We'll make the mouth clear. And Caligula, I don't know if he heard the suckling or what, But he like runs over and he's like, "Hey, you perverts, get the fuck out of there!"
Dick has touched lips.
Right.
I must see.
It's like the modern day equivalent of a guy getting like caught jerking off in a Zoom meeting. You know, it's like,
Oh, it's
like,
ancient
damn
Jeffrey
it, man.
Tubin.
He's not
Damn
even
it,
mad that
man.
they're spies. It's just like, you perverts.
And he doesn't even like do anything to me. He's just like,
No.
get out of here, you scamps.
Yeah. People have tried to kill him before. This is not even that bad.
Oh God, what if
can't even overcome their horniness?
What if they weren't even spies? Like, what if they were hitmen and they got distracted before the job? Like, what if Pulp Fiction started that way? What if?
Wow.
I digress. Continue.
So in my version of Santa Sangria with the Dick Carneys, we're definitely having the little like B plot with the two hitmen that are too busy sucking each other off to actually get the job done.
We missed it again. Oh,
Oh, dang it, go away again.
Why are you
Pull
so
your
gorgeous?
Pull your pants up. We gotta go.
boss, why do you keep pairing me with Billy? Man, I can't get anything done. Oh my God.
Have you seen this man's cock? It's gorgeous. So I want to focus on early on how Caligula can't bring himself to kill a person,
Okay.
because he can't bring himself to kill. Tiberius Macro has to do it. But I also want to show how he has a really hard time making decisions. It's Drusilla who's helping him make the decisions. That's stealing a little bit from Nero. Nero really couldn't make any decisions without his mom.
Nero was a mama's boy?
Very much a mama's boy.
Oh my God.
He did eventually try to kill her, but like, it's
You're kind of
Rome.
overcorrecting the situation there, bud.
Yeah. I mean, his mom took it like real hard too.
Oh.
When the hitman came to kill her, she had him stab her in the womb.
Oh God.
Symbolic. Anyway, that's later on. We're still stuck on Caligula.
And that guy didn't even get distracted by a dick anywhere along the way.
No.
That's why you can't have two hitmen. You have one.
Nah,
hitman.
they learned the lesson after that. Yeah.
Caligula
That
was
was that was like the Leon, the professional of the hitman back then.
You can't have two Leons.
They'll start sucking each other.
We're sucking each other off. Okay. Oof, we're getting a little loopy here, huh?
You kidding?
You picked the film, asshole.
I did. There's gonna be so much suckling.
Anyway.
So, I also want to focus on we seeing his need for approval. Again, something I'm kind of taking from Nero, but whatever. He was an artist.
Are you sure you don't want to make a Nero
I
movie?
might want to make a Nero movie.
Yeah, like
I want to make a Nero movie, but with more dicks.
Caligula's got all the dicks.
Caligula's got all the dicks. Nero's got the pained artist thing. I just want the two.
I mean, they kind of have they've got some stuff in common.
They have
Like,
some stuff in common.
Yeah, I can see what. And again, you're playing with the cycle of things. So.
Right. Anyway,
directed by Paul Verhoeven.
Yes. Sold.
There's some really weird cloacas in there.
Opening final draft now.
Oh no.
Fade in. Keep going.
What does Phil Tippett do?
Some
Mad
go
dog
motion
computer.
dicks. I don't want this CGI. We're doing practical like we did in the 80s. So
The turn comes when Drusilla dies, as it does in this film.
Sure.
His cruelty is directed at the doctors who couldn't save her, the senators that set him up to fail, and I want to see him be angry. We have this moment in the movie where he's angry at, is it Isis or is it Venus? He takes a statue and he like busts it.
I imagine it's probably Venus, because he would have to be in Egypt to find a statue of Isis unless he purposefully had one built in Rome.
Well, there was the temple of priestesses who worshipped Isis, but
Oh, right,
yeah.
right. No, never mind. That's so it could have been.
Pay attention.
Yeah, Joe.
Man,
Fucking Joe.
okay, look, we talked about this beforehand.
There weren't even any dicks in that
there
scene.
there weren't any dicks in that scene. No, we were concerned.
Just a bunch of lesbians.
But we were concerned that this was going to be this movie was going to turn me straight in a
Yeah.
way that akin to making a kid who smoked a cigarette smoke an entire
Right,
carton
yeah.
all
It's
in
like,
one sitting.
oh, you like dicks?
Yeah,
Here's all the
here's
dicks.
all the dicks.
Here's all the
Just-
dicks.
It's no,
It was like Showgirls for me. I'm like, I don't even like tits anymore.
oh
Wow.
good lord.
This is somehow both our most hetero and gayest episode we've done.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be here.
Shit. So there's a moment he breaks the statue of Venus.
Yes.
I want him to be the third act to be his like revenge on everyone, doctors, senators, and the gods
Yes.
for not saving Drusilla. And then I want him when he goes to the street and he sees the people making fun of him, fuck them too.
So you want to give it the Godfather ending. You're going to have him take care of all family
Basically.
business. I like it. I like it.
Scorched
Yeah.
earth.
I like it.
I'm not sure where to fit the orgy scene in. I mean, I think he's still going to make the senators' wives and the sex workers, but
But I think since
You
you're
know
you're
what?
playing up the revenge angle of this and like him inflicting this upon them, it's an opportunity to show like no, this is actually like a monstrous thing he's doing
Yeah.
to these wives.
and McDowell kind of already takes that scene into not a ringleader, that's not the word, like a good carnival barker.
Yeah, he does.
He really
He does a lot
If
of barking in this movie.
If
Yeah.
I had to hear him shout only 5 gold pieces one more fucking time.
I'm just gonna push that even further. So we eventually get to the ending, and I kind of already said it in the first part because history did a better ending anyway.
Yeah, no. So you get him down into that secret corridor.
Yeah.
You get that angelic chorus of boys.
So in this I changed it a little it's a little different. So like the Senate has had their fill of him. There's like fuck this guy. The people hate him. And even after these endless games, they're like, we're gonna assassinate this guy. I want him to specifically put on, again, I'm stealing from Nero. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Nero. I want him to put on the play that they were rehearsing
Yeah.
at the end, and it's the play bombs.
Oh, so then they're getting like tomatoes and shit thrown at them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then they're getting like chased for how shitty it was, and they end up in that corridor.
Yeah, it's like he's had his revenge and he still feels like shit.
Yeah.
So he's being led through this corridor back to the palace, and we're intercutting this with scenes of Helen Mirren getting stabbed and his daughter's head getting crushed in, not by a Cabbage Patch doll because that looked shitty. And we hear the beautiful like choir music, the angelic choir, and it kind of brings him back to him being a child and the beauty he was never allowed to experience as a child because he was trapped with a pervert.
Yeah.
And then when he is being assassinated, you can almost see on his face him looking towards death to try to see like, well, what is it that I am going to see? Am I going to see ISIS?
So then you're going to get that last crazed look in his eyes.
And even if it were me directing it, it would be that moment of recognition where he's like, there is nothing.
Yeah.
So it's just terror. The end.
I fucking love that actually. Yeah.
It's deep. I like it.
But with dicks. With like a lot of dicks. There's like a lot of dicks and maybe some boobies.
You ruined it.
Maybe some boobs, she said.
Maybe.
Does your version still have the wall of head
Oh my god, yeah.
trimming?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, cool.
You got to keep that.
You gotta
that thing
keep
was
that.
that thing was far too ridiculous to ever remove.
Yeah,
There
it's amazing.
It was a solid wall of red marble.
Yeah. Just with a bunch of
carved
dudes
with, like,
standing all over
faces,
it.
And they were
slaves
like
standing on it.
and they were fanning it. They were keeping the operators cool. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep.
And you just
You-
have like
y- y-
mower blades at the bottom, just chopping people's heads off, but also efficiently removing it from the field.
In most cases, there
In most
was
cases,
one that kind of got like bumbled off into the middle,
It
and
got
I'm like,
sliced
oh
too
hey,
good.
yeah, get this back over into the catcher. Come on.
I dare say in my version there would be twice as many murder walls.
Twice as many.
Yeah,
It'd
at
be a
least twice as
se-
many scenes with a murder wall.
Okay. Get to spend really get to get a feel for
Right.
it.
They
in
said it
action.
was gilding the lily, and I said more murder walls.
Jack takes his lilies and dumps them into molten gold.
Right. Yeah. If you drink it, you poop gold. So, fellas,
Don't do that.
Goldschlager for my butt. Do you feel as though I've fixed Caligula?
I think you did an admirable job here. Yeah.
Great. Where are we rating this on Rotten Tomatoes?
Antonio, what do you think?
Jack's version?
Yeah.
I'd say it's a solid 7 if you get the casting right.
7 out of 100?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I always confuse. I don't never look on Tomatoes.
Right.
70. Let's give it a
There we go,
70.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd go no lower than a 69.
I would be mad if you did.
Yes.
Great. I can sleep easy tonight with my visions of dickmongers and golden shits.
Beautiful.
Antonio, thank you for you idiot. Why'd you do this to yourself?
Why you did this?
Oh, I
did
know why I
this?
did it myself.
Oh.
I don't know why you agreed to it, Antonio.
Well, I've been waiting a year for the next invitation, and you said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna hook up soon," and this is what it was. And I'm not one to turn down an invitation when my friends ask me out. You know,
Hey, on the bright side, the next time it won't be this.
That's yep. But what if it was?
but what if it was?
I'd be upset.
I mean, did you guys know that there are 2 unofficial sequels to this film?
Why did you
Oh,
tell him that?
Shit, there really?
Why did you tell
Oh
him
my
that?
God.
Jesus
Both directed by
Christ.
Joe D'Amato, who did the erotic Night of the Living Dead.
I gotta go. Wait, there's an erotic Night of the Living Dead? Guys, I'm gonna be busy tomorrow.
And
I'm so excited.
And although I haven't seen them, I did read some of the synopsis, and you would be pleased to know that in that version, is called Caligula: The Untold Story.
Mhm.
There is a horse who is masturbated to completion. So
I might need. What was that company you were telling us about that trims out the porno bits? Clean cuts.
clean flicks, yeah.
No, I like mine better. Clean cuts, like a haircut place that also edits film. I might need
In this economy, you have to do it.
right. Yeah, I might need clean flicks to trim that bit out.
God
But
damn
other than that, I am in. I'm in.
it. I'm so
Multiple
mad.
sequels plus of zombie porno. Hell yeah.
Oh man.
What was that called? Dicks of the Dead? Dawn of the
Ero-
Dicks?
Erotic Night of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah, I guess that's.
Is that actually is that the name? Erotic
That's
Night
the
of
name.
Living Dead?
That's the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look up Joe D'Amato. He's got all these like erotic versions of these films.
We're definitely doing a second unit on Joe
Yeah, I
D'Amato.
know. We
Fuck.
probably definitely are. God damn it.
Antonio, thank you for joining us. Where can the people find you?
Oh, they can find me everywhere you find podcasts: the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast, the Cultworthy Classic, and the MILF and Me Podcast. Just go to thecultworthy.com. It takes you wherever you want to go, including links to your guys' show.
And to everyone else who has been a partner with the Cultworthy podcast.
This is true.
Joe, where can they find us?
Wherever you listen to podcasts, as we've mentioned, please rate and review if you enjoyed this absolute insanity we've just engaged in. We really appreciate this. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at DeRazzled Pod, on Facebook at DeRazzled Podcast, on Instagram and TikTok at DeRazzled_podcast. If there's a film you'd like to see us cover in season 3, please email us with your recommendation at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com. You can also feel free to suggest anything you'd like to see pop up in our Redbubble merch store. And we hope that you join us next time here.
Yep.
Yup.
Be sure to check us out next time, as we will, as always, we will be sure to
Horse come.
Razzle dazzle you.
Dazzle you up. Good night. Horse come. God damn
I'm
it.
surprised they were able to keep a straight face.
I'm amazed you did too.
I thought you were gonna say scrotum, but you topped it.
Yeah, honestly, missed opportunity. Should have said scrotum.
What's the password?
Scrotum.
Jesus Christ. Oh,
Oh,
Antonio, thank you so much. This was a blast.
This was a lot of fun. Oh my god. So yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
Part 1 will be out April 4th, and then
Okay.
part 2 will be out the following week.
If you guys ever talk about it again or like recap an episode, I would have loved to have seen an animated version of this done by Ralph Bakshi.
Oh my god.
Fuck. We'll definitely talk about Bakshi at some point.
We've brought him up a couple of
Yeah.
times already, so yeah, I'm sure he'll pop up again here eventually.
I've sat through a couple Bakshi movies in the last couple weeks to do for an upcoming animated episode, and when I watch this, I'm like, what if this was a cartoon? Like, what if no one had to suffer and get their
Yeah.
dick out? What if it was just animated? It would fix so many things. I'd feel so much better about this project.
I don't think Bakshi's doing much these days.
No, he's not. He's still on Instagram though, like showing
Yes,
old
he is.
pictures of
Oddly social, good at
Yeah,
social
but
media.
he crosses my. He pops up in my like For You page on Twitter every now and then. It's just,
Yeah.
Have you done Cool World?
So someone actually was supposed to do it with me and they dropped out. So I am not doing it this month, but I'll do Cool World. It doesn't have to be during Animation April. Y'all want to do Cool World, or how about this? What if down the line we do an episode of the off the beaten path animation live action blended movies that not a lot of people talk about?
Like not the Roger Rabbits, but like the
Like Evil
Weird.
Tunes from the band company, and then Cool World. And there's another one too that was kind of like that. We should dig up and see what we can find. For right now, I just know Evil Tunes and Cool World, but yeah, there's more out there. I know there are.
Oh, that'd be a blast.
I'm into that.
So yeah.
Hell yeah.
My brain's dead. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, we both need to get to sleep. It's
I am.
midnight here.
I'll compress this tomorrow and send it to you, Joe.
Perfect.
All right. Have a good night, y'all.
All right, you too, man. Thanks.